of football.
It's all over for the Miami Dolphins. They have been sent to the NFL's final resting place. But the Buffalo Bills are still alive, and they advance on to next week's conference playoffs. Up now, today's NFC wildcard game with the Detroit Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles. Detroit's Barry Sanders had another sensational year carrying the football. He gained 1,500 yards this season. The Lions' offense was the league's most prolific, as quarterback Scott Mitchell had by far the best year of his career. And the great wide receiver, Herman Moore, caught more passes this season than any player in the history of the game. The Lions have won their last 7 games, and this team is rolling.
Players are playing like we know we can win. We know what we're capable of doing, and we know what our talents are.
The Detroit Lions have a long history in the NFL, and now they set out to win their first NFL championship in nearly 40 years. The Detroit Lions face the Philadelphia Eagles in this NFC wild card playoff.
Hard fight. So get ready. I mean, get ready. Are you ready for some football? Postseason party. We got Frank and Al and Dan. We're gonna get it kick-started. Lynn and the crew's all set. The crowd is psyched. It's the NFL playoffs coming on.
The familiar skyline of the city of Philadelphia on what locals would call an absolutely balmy day. 39 degrees, little or no wind, and the symbol of our nation's freedom. The Liberty Bell, of course, located here in Philadelphia. But today, it'll be the Detroit Lions coming in to play the Philadelphia Eagles as our doubleheader wild card playoff continues for you. Hello again, everyone. Frank Gifford with Al Michaels and Dan Deerdorf. Happy you're with us. And again, the Eagles and the Detroit Lions both are 10-6 on the season, but as far as I'm concerned, the Philadelphia Eagles are the least likely team to have made these playoffs. They were 7-9 a year ago. They fired the coach. They brought in a very unlikely head coach, Ray Rhodes. He wasn't their first choice, but he was a good one. And he has kind of convinced his team, willed his team, if you will, and they were a very unlikely bunch of players too, and he has convinced them that they can win. And they come in feeling that if they lose today, well, it will be a bad season for them, even though they were 10-6. They're thinking Super Bowl. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions, we've heard all about them. They are the hottest team in the league. They have the 1,500-yard rusher Al in Barry, and they have the 1,500-yard receiver, and they have a 4,000-yard passer. What don't they have?
Well, and among other things, they probably saved Wayne Fontz's job as well with that 7-game winning streak. Offensively, terrific. Number 1 in yards gained, number 2 in points. But playoff games are very often won on the other side of the ball. The Lions were not very good through the first half of the season defensively. On that side of the ball, they are playing much better, having allowed just 34 points over their last 4 games. But today they face an extremely daunting task because historically, dome teams have done terribly in the playoffs on the road outside. The last time a dome team won a road playoff game outdoors was 1988. Since then, dome teams are 0-11. So Detroit at Philadelphia, an unusual circumstance here today, Dan, in as much as very infrequently do you see a road team favored, but that is the case today.
And I think the reason for that, Al, is if you put these two teams together, if you marry these two rosters, I think 3/4 of the starters would come from the Detroit Lions, not from the Philadelphia Eagles. Frank talked about Ray Rhodes. He has earned being coach of the year. This is a team that will fight you. It will scrap. It will scrape. It will claw. It will do whatever it has to do to try to win a ball game. 2 things I think are premium in their importance for the Eagles today. 1, defensively, they must blitz, and they will blitz. This Detroit Lion offense is too potent to just sit back. They'll come after Scott Mitchell. And secondly, offensively, they have but one weapon, and that is running back Ricky Watters, who gained almost 1,300 yards. Without a big day from Watters, they have no chance of winning. Their formidable opponent is coached by, well, a guy we like a lot. That's Wayne Fonts, the head man of the Detroit Lions. He's down on the field with Lynn Swann.
Thank you very much, Dan. Wayne, we've read about it. Al mentioned it, talked about the record of Dome Stadium teams coming into the playoffs. How do you change the course of that history?
Well, we're trying to change it today, Lynn. We practice outdoors. We practice indoors in our own dome. We had the doors open. It was very cold in there. I think the best team on game day will win. Let's hope it's us.
They always say coming into the playoffs, good teams have to just execute. But don't you have to reach a different level into the playoffs to win these games?
There's no question about it, Lynn. We've been here now 4 times the last 5 years. We got to take it to another level to win this ball game.
Okay, Wayne, good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn.
Al?
All right, thank you, Lynn, as the crowd here at Veterans Stadium settles in for what we feel will be a very appealing matchup. Detroit against Philadelphia. Philadelphia, to use the phrase of the 90s, I guess, perhaps the most overachieving team in the National Football League this season against the hottest team in the league in Detroit. And Anderson to kick off. He bounces a ground ball inside the 20, fielded by Ron Rivers at the 18-yard line, and Barry Sanders, backup running back. Rivers takes it back out to the 33-yard line. Gary Anderson, as he approached the ball, slipped on turf that is not that moist. But down he goes.
Big time slip. He went down.
Scott Mitchell, terrific numbers. 32 touchdowns, only 12 picks this season. The great Sanders in the backfield. The rookie tight end is Sloan. Moore, Perriman, and Morton are the 3 wideouts. And we'll look at the line in a moment, which is anchored by Lomas Brown on the left side. That is Sloan, the tight end, in motion from the 33-yard line. And Barry Sanders breaks a tackle in the backfield, swings to the outside, and turns a loss into a gain. A small one, 2nd down and 8. The guys up front for Detroit. Lomas Brown will go to the Pro Bowl again. Mike Compton at left guard. Kevin Glover, in his 11th year, goes to the Pro Bowl for the first time. Lutz and Moss rounded out. It is 2nd down and 8 for Detroit at the 35-yard line. Now all 3 receivers are on the right side. With Perriman in motion, Mitchell looks that way and hits Perriman at the 40-yard line. He breaks 2 tackles and picks up a 1st down. And Philadelphia defensively, they couldn't get Sanders in the backfield. They couldn't take care of Perriman. Rhodes does some early barking, and here's the 4-3 that Philly plays with Fuller, Harmon, Dixon, and the rookie Mamula up front. Romanowski, Gouveia, and William Thomas, who had 7 interceptions this season, the linebackers. McMillan at 5'7", and Taylor at 6'3", the corners. Zordich and Jackson are the safeties. Taylor will be locked on Moore most of the day. McMillan on Perriman. From the 47-yard line, Mitchell, the pump fake. Mitchell going deep for Perriman, and he can't make the catch. McMillan back there covering on the play.
That's the other matchup we'll be watching. It'll be McMillan, who is 5'7". He'll be locked up with Perriman most of the day at 5'9". And Al, you mentioned Bobby Taylor will be locked up with Herman Moore, the great receiver for the Detroit Lions, with his NFL record 123 receptions this year, because Taylor is 6'3". And as you see, McMillan, he's short, 5'7", but he is some kind of a leaper. Got a hand in there and caused the drop.
2nd and 10. Nickel alignment defensively for Philadelphia. Mitchell a short drop and then overthrows Perriman. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
Good penetration there by Ronnie Dixon. And Dan, I think we're going to see a lot of different things from Philadelphia defensively. They're going to have to be upsetting, disruptive today.
Well, when you talk to Ray Rhodes, he thought the best game plan that he's seen against the Lions recently was by the Houston Oilers. And Jeff Fisher, their coach, put together a real blitz package to come after Scott Mitchell from all different directions. And he made it known that's exactly what the Eagles are going to do today. Come from a lot of different directions.
6 defensive backs in the alignment for Philadelphia.
Here they come.
Pressure on Mitchell, and they sack him back at the 34-yard line. Mike Mamula, the #1 draft choice from Boston College.
And they go right to work on the side of the line, anchored by Lomas Brown. The guy who guaranteed a Lion victory, Mike Mamula, lined up across from Lomas Brown, but that time Mamula goes to the inside. Brown blocks to the outside, and they got what they wanted. Pressure and a sack on Mitchell.
10-yard sack on 4th and 20. Mark Royals floats one down into the arms of Rob Carpenter, and he takes it from the 22 back to the 28. A minute 41 into the game in Philadelphia, no score. Sun going down in Philadelphia. Let's take a look at the Eagles offensively. The old Lion, Rodney Peete, at quarterback. Ricky Waters and James Saxon in the backfield. Barnett and Williams are the wideouts, and Ed West, the longtime Packer, the tight end. Brooks is a rookie with McIntyre, McKenzie, Boatswain, and Davis. Barrett Brooks, a rookie out of Kansas State, on the left side. Rodney Peete leads him to the line with a 1st and 10 up at the 28-yard line. Out of a 2-back set, Ricky Waters tries to cut it back and picks up 2. Waters was held to about a yard per carry last week at Chicago. Spielman made the tackle. Here's the 4-3. Ellis is their #1 draft choice out of Utah. The rookie, Thomas, the former Viking, Forshea, and Scroggins round out the front 4. Hayworth, Spielman, and Johnson. And the secondary has gotten a lot better recently. McNeil and Raymond at the corners. Blades and Willie Clay, who had 8 interceptions this season, at safety. Charlie Garner is in the backfield for Philadelphia, spelling Waters on 2nd down and 8. He stays in the block, and Peete throws, and the catch is made up at the 38-yard line by the tight end West, and that is close to a 1st down. Let's get a report from Lynn Swan.
Al, we've already seen a couple of people slip on this field. Let me tell you why. From about the hash mark back towards the near side, the Eagles bench is always in the shade. It did not dry out like the far side of the field. There was 2 inches of ice on this field. They put a fertilizer substance on it to de-ice it, and the ground crew did a great job of cleaning it off. But when you touch it with your hand, it feels a little oily, as if there's an oily surface on it, Al. You get a lot of slipping on this side of the field.
That's what you get when you put fertilizer on AstroTurf. 3rd down and 1, and the pass intended for Barnett is incomplete. Rob Carpenter also in the area. 4th down, and they're forced to kick.
And I can tell you one thing that Wayne Fonts and his team did. They went back into their locker room and sanded the bottom of their shoes. You can see that ball just floated a little bit on Rodney Peete. It fluttered out of his hand and took off. But they were back in their locker room with a belt sander, roughing up the edges on their rubber cleats to give them better traction. Talking about the Lions.
Tom Hutton with a kick, and it is fair caught at the 20-yard line by Brett Perriman, a 42-yard boot. So each team has had the ball once. Detroit with it when we come back. The Lions against the Eagles. The winner of this game, a likelihood would go to Dallas, in as much as Green Bay is a heavy favorite to beat Atlanta. However, if Atlanta wins that game tomorrow, they would go to Dallas, and the winner of this game would go to San Francisco. 1st down, Detroit in the 20-yard line. Mitchell throws, and it's knocked down by Bobby Taylor, the Notre Dame rookie, who normally plays on the other side of the field, but because of the height matchup today, flips, makes the play. Good play.
He did a good job against Michael Irvin a couple of weeks ago, so they decided they'd lock up Taylor with his size, a 6'3", against the 6'3" Herman Moore, and a good leaping deflection by the rookie from Notre Dame.
Well, he sat on that pattern like he knew what was coming. That was beautifully played by Taylor.
2nd down and 10. Barry Sanders, remember him? And he picks up only a yard as he gets to the 21-yard line. Andy Harmon makes the tackle. ABC's coverage of the NFC Wild Card Playoff is brought to you by the all-new Plymouth Voyager, the next generation of the minivan. Aptiva, the home computer from IBM. Welcome to the future. And Southwest Airlines. Fly Southwest, the low-fare airline. 3rd and 9 for Wayne Fonts' Lions. Ray Rhodes, the coach of the year, guiding the Eagles to their 10-6 mark. Mitchell Great job by the secondary. William Fuller finally tackles him, but it's in effect not a sack, but it's a coverage play as the secondary did its job. Mitchell had nowhere to go, and down he goes in the punt.
Mark Millen all over Bet Perryman, and he will be locked up with him today, and that was exactly where Scott Mitchell was looking for Perryman for first down yardage, and good coverage by McMillan.
Mark Royals to punt for the second time. Good kick. 47 yards taken by Carpenter, and he brings it back to the 37-yard line. Tackled there by Stephen Boyd. 10:40 left, first quarter in Philly. 0-0. The Lions and the Eagles are scoreless. We played 4 minutes 20 seconds in Philadelphia in the late afternoon. Rodney Peete, the first quarterback in 15 years to start a postseason game against his former team. Ken Stabler started one in '80 as an Oiler against the Raiders and lost. And the catch is made by Calvin Williams. And with a stiff arm, he's out of bounds. Up at the 50, Corey Raymond with the tackle.
Corey Raymond giving Calvin Williams a lot of area to hook up. He must have been playing 6 or 7 yards off Calvin Williams, obviously in single coverage, and a good read by quarterback Rodney Peete.
But notice the pattern. It's as simple as it possibly could be. You're not going to see Rodney Peete taking a lot of chances throwing the ball, or I don't think you're going to see Calvin Williams with a bad ankle do a lot of cutting early in this ballgame. Calvin is just trying to make it through this thing.
Yeah, Williams' time could be limited today. We might see a lot of Chris T. Jones, and that pass is off the hand of Fred Barnett, their other wideout. Barnett and Williams coming together in 1990 in the draft, but Fred's had an off year.
Yeah, where Rodney gets in trouble is in the middle of the field. This guy has almost a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio in the opposite direction. He comes into this game with only 8 touchdown passes and 14 interceptions. And where he gets in trouble is he'll throw it up in the middle of the field. And of course, there's the $3 million man on the sidelines, Randall Cunningham.
And the father-to-be, you all know about that, is Waters takes the ball to the 47-yard line. It's been a huge story in Philadelphia. Randall Cunningham's wife is pregnant. The due date is tomorrow, but Randall has said, and he's been saying it for several days, if word comes that she's in labor, he's out of here. He's going to the airport.
That's Felicity. I'm sure she's watching, or at least I hope she's watching, as does Randall. And I don't think that Ray Rhodes would hesitate to go to Randall Cunningham if Rodney struggles here in the early part of this game. He needs something disruptive defensively. Randall Cunningham could put a tremendous spark into this offense. It would be dangerous, but I don't think Ray Rhodes would be above making the change.
3rd down and 5. Good blocking up front, and the catch is made by Fred Barnett for a first down to the 38-yard line. The whole push came up the middle, and the Eagles did the job to protect them. First down.
That's what Barnett has struggled with this year, the pass over the middle. He had 78 receptions a year ago. Ray Rhodes brought a new offense in, throwing underneath across the middle, and Barnett has struggled with that, but he makes a big first down catch here.
Nine minutes left in the opening quarter. No score. 1st and 10 from the 38-yard line. Ricky Waters, who scored 3 touchdowns in last year's Super Bowl as a 49er, is tackled by Mike Johnson. A little skirmish breaks out. Barrett Brooks and Tracy Scroggins do some bumping.
Well, their bumping will continue for the balance of this ball game. They're right across from each other. Offensive left tackle and right defensive end, and Scroggins, the former linebacker, had a big year for the Lions, ended up with 9.5 sacks, and his game is quickness. And when you're a rookie like Brooks, that's the toughest thing to get used to, is blocking a smaller guy who's quick. He'd much rather have a guy try to run over him.
2nd and 10. Peete with a 4-receiver set, drops it off for Ricky Waters underneath. He's tackled by Spielman, who's played the entire season with a chest muscle, a pectoral muscle that's given him a tremendous amount of trouble and has limited the movement in his arm.
That's what the Eagles have to continue to do. Get the ball in the hands of Ricky Waters. He was a 1,200-yard rusher for them. He had over 60 receptions. Main reason offensively the Eagles are even here today.
Here's this matchup between Brooks and Scroggins. He's going to press Brooks back, and look at him slide. And again, it was between the hash mark and the sidelines, as Lynn Swann was telling you about. And boy, a good illustration there of how slippery it is.
3rd down and 5 with Barnett in motion. And Pete off balance. It was deflected by Spielman and then almost intercepted by Johnson. It'll be 4th down. And if you're thinking about a Gary Anderson attempt, it would be about 50 yards.
Well, Mike Johnson, the king of the takeovers, turnovers for Detroit, with a couple of interceptions, 4 fumble recovers, almost had another one. He's shaking his head. It was right in his hands.
They will not attempt a 50-yard field goal. Instead, it will be Tom Hutton lining up to punt. Rookie out of Tennessee.
Anything that's, if it's not inside the 15-yard line, this is going to be a major disappointment.
Well, he's kicked 13 touchbacks this season. That was the most in the league. Perfect. And this time he lays it inside the 5. Perfect. That was beautiful. Floated it. Jerome Henderson was there to catch it, and that pins the Lions deep in Detroit territory. A beauty. 7:18 left in the first quarter in the NFC wild card playoff in Philadelphia. Great shot. Sun going down over Quakerland here in eastern Pennsylvania.
The stadium is starting to quake a little bit right now as well.
Yes. Lions pinned deep in their own territory. Barry Sanders tries to give them some breathing room, but not much. Takes it out to the 4-yard line. Barry finished 2nd this season in rushing. Emmitt Smith won the title, and Sanders 2nd with an even 1,500 yards.
It's a dangerous guy to have carrying the football, though, close to the goal line. You know, Barry's a big play guy. He had more big runs than anybody in the league this year, but he also had more runs losing yardage than anybody. And, you know, when you're inside your own 5-yard line, that's a concern. I'd still give it to him, man.
Lions have already punted twice. 2nd down 10 from the 3. Mitchell, the short drop, then throws to Perriman, and he's ridden out of bounds immediately by Mark McMillan as he gets it up to about the 8-yard line, setting up a 3rd down 5.
Well, in this situation, I don't think the Lions should be afraid to come back and try the same type of pattern. Just a 6 or a 7-yard sideline pattern. Tom Moore, their offensive coordinator, on the sideline, but I wouldn't be the least bit concerned about going back to Herman Moore or Perriman just with that sideline pattern.
3rd and 5. The Eagles with 6 DBs. And a 5-man rush, and a catch made by Moore. He got position inside Taylor, and Mitchell was right there to gun it into the numbers. 1st down at the 16.
Perfectly thrown ball to Herman Moore from Scott Mitchell. And we watched Scott Mitchell really grow up in the 3rd game, right after the 3rd game against the 49ers, when he really came of age. They shortened up their offense, 3 wideouts, and this is good coverage by Bobby Taylor. That ball is thrown perfectly where only Herman Moore could handle it.
Fake to Sanders, and then it is intercepted, deflected, picked off by Mark McMillan. Off the hands of Brett Perriman, and the first big break of the game goes to the Eagles.
And the first poorly thrown ball by Scott Mitchell, and it was poorly thrown. He was not pressured. He just threw it high. Perriman, who only goes about 5'9", couldn't get to it. Off his fingertips into the arms of McMillan.
And what a job McMillan did of keeping the ball off the ground. There's the high throw, and yes, it's high. But look at the job Mark does of getting underneath that ball and keeping it from hitting the turf. But that's a relatively routine reception. Beautiful job by McMillan, though, of fighting and digging the ball and keeping it from touching this carpet.
Now Pete from the 14 hands the ball to Charlie Garner, and he is in there, we believe, for the touchdown.
Not yet. No signal yet.
Well, he clearly crossed the goal line. Well, that's a touchdown. We just
Waiting for the official word. I don't see a flag.
No signal, but clearly in.
Well, since they're lining up for the conversion, I assume it's an official 6.
Well, talk about being opportunistic. There goes Garner, and that's a touchdown. He's inside the pylon by a a good yard or two.
First turnover. Results in 6. Now 7.
15-yard run for Gardner. Anderson for the point after. Perriman's deflection and subsequent interception comes back to haunt Detroit, and it's 7-0 Philadelphia.
And a nice turnaround for the Eagles, who've fallen way behind in their last 4 ball games. Finally, Philadelphia has the lead.
Charlie Gardner scoring the first touchdown of the day after the interception. Scott Mitchell had it deflect off the hands of Perriman into Mark McMillan's arms. Changing shoes because of the wet turf here.
That's Ricky Waters. His traction is critical.
Appropriately named. As Anderson's kick taken by Rivers, and he brings it back to the 22-yard line and then gets forced all the way back to the 5. Of course, the forward progress to the 22, but that's how stoked the Eagles are to drive them back 17 yards on the run back.
And I think they're fortunate they didn't get a penalty. It's nice to be pumped up, but you can't run a guy back 15 yards and then drive him into the ground. It's nice to show a little enthusiasm, but there's a point where you got to let up.
Danny Smith, the special teams coach.
Boy, stoked is the word to Al. And this team reflects their head coach, Ray Rhodes, who I think would have liked to have gone to center field and had a fist fight with Wayne Fonts to kick this game off. He is one tough cookie.
He's not a real smiling man, is he?
First and 10 from the 23-yard line. They fake the end around to Morton. Then that's batted. And the Lions are very lucky nobody was there to come up with that one. Daniel Stubbs with the hands up to bat it away.
Former 49er that Ray Rhodes knew when he was there. Traveled around, went to Dallas and then Cincinnati, and then one of the unlikely ones that Ray Rhodes decided he wanted in, and he brought in a lot of new players.
Well, one of the things the Eagles have worked on is the fact that Mitchell throws the ball sidearm. And so they're more concerned with blocking the ball. They've practiced all week long on sensing when he's going to release it and trying to knock it down. It's that sidearm delivery. He's tall, but he brings the ball down.
He gives the ball to Barry Sanders. Typical Barry. Had him twice near the line of scrimmage, and the next thing you know, it's a gain of about 7. Zordich makes the tackle.
We talked about Barry and the many times that he has lost yardage, of course, leading the league in big plays. One of the reasons the single setback has no lead man in front of him, and they take him back a lot to the weak side. That's why he loses a lot of yardage, but he breaks so many tackles. And just when you think you've seen everything from Barry Sanders, he does something even more incredible.
Last season, he was stymied in that game at Green Bay. They held him to -1 in the Packer win. On 3rd and a long 2, it's Herman Moore making the catch and a first down for Detroit, tackled by Bobby Taylor up at the 36-yard line. 4 minutes to go in the period.
Philadelphia gambling again. Bobby Taylor all alone, locked up with Herman Moore. No help deep, and a quick read by Scott Mitchell and, of course, Herman Moore, and they go right to Moore. This is a good coordination between Mitchell and Herman Moore. Once they saw that single coverage, right to him.
First and 10, Lions at the 36-yard line. Flushed out. Chase throws on the run. Caught at midfield. David Sloan, the rookie tight end out of New Mexico. Tackled by William Thomas, and another first down.
Oh, wow. Great improvisation on the part of Scott Mitchell. That pass was supposed to go to the right. Good coverage there. He's not a speedy type rollout quarterback, but he got out there, looked downfield, stayed alive, and got the ball to the rookie from New Mexico.
He does have one advantage in rolling to the left, in that he is left-handed. He doesn't have to come back across his body to make that throw. Very alert by Mitchell.
Less than 3 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Mitchell guns one complete, 37-yard line. Play is over as the ground caused the fumble. Brett Perriman makes the catch, and Perriman slow in getting back up. Jackson and Gouveia converge on the hit.
Gouveia and Jackson both arriving there at the same time, and Perriman with 108 receptions on the year stays down, gets medical treatment. Gouveia, of course, an unprotected free agent from the Washington Redskins. Good pass defender. Never considered all that good against the run, but he is very good in defending against the pass. 54 is Gouveia, and Jackson is 47. It's kind of doubled over.
I think it was his right leg that he got caught underneath him in an awkward angle. Take a look at it here from the other side of the field. Let's see that right there. Jackson, 47, comes down right on the right ankle of Brett Perriman.
Remarkable pair, Brett Perriman and Herman Moore, during the course of the season, with 123 receptions for Moore, a new NFL record, and 108 for Brett Perriman.
There's Aubrey Matthews over on the sideline warming up. He'll be the next in line. Johnny Morton, their #1 draft choice of last year, will have to fill a more prominent role. Well, Jackson, Morton, the former Giant, in there on the tackle and inadvertently lands on the ankle of Perriman.
Morton with 44 catches, clearly the #3 receiver. And you look at his numbers, but then you go all the way down from the big three to Matthews, who caught only 4 balls all year. And they're going to have to wheel Brett Perriman off the field. So the Lions, who watch their offense operate on all cylinders, #1 in the league in yards gained, 2nd in points, and then early in their opening playoff game, Wayne Fontes has to look on as Brett Perriman needs to be assisted from the field.
And their standard formation is 3 wide receivers. They only had 4 wide receivers active for this game. Their 5th, Kez McCarvey, is inactivated. So all 3 of their receivers are in the lineup now. And if they should suffer one more injury, now Tom Moore here, the offensive coordinator, is going to have to go to a different offensive set. And the 3 receiver set has been awfully good to these guys.
And what you would expect them, they would go back to their 2 setbacks, bring in Lynch, and it would make Barry Sanders perhaps a little more effective, but it'd be much more easier for them to defend on the part of Philadelphia. And there's Bill Ford, the owner of the Detroit Lions. What a good man he is to work for, too. He is so patient, and even though he gave an ultimatum at 3 and 6 that there would be changes made over the years, he is known for being so patient. Good man to work for.
I'm sure Perriman's on his way in to the locker room to get x-rays. And again, it's a shame when you work all year to get into the playoffs, and then so early in the ball game you're on your way in to have something looked at. We can only hope that it works out for the best.
You know, he's tough too. He's a real chatter in the huddle. He's a very inspirational type player. He'll be missed. Not only his 108 receptions, he'll be missed in that huddle.
But it's time for other people, for Detroit to step up. That's what has to happen when somebody goes down.
It is 2nd and 1 now from the 37-yard line. 2:25 to go in the opening quarter, and they give it to Barry Sanders, who springs to the outside and works his way for a first down. Got by Zordich, and I would have to think that Barry will perhaps play a little bit larger role than Detroit might have anticipated coming into the game now.
Frank, we're laughing because
stepping up.
You're not supposed to be able to do that, are you?
You can't. You know, I used to do that for a living. I'm not saying that we did it in black and white years ago, but I mean, I just love to watch him, quite frankly.
He's stuffed in the middle, and he gets around the corner so easily. Throw contained.
Eagles leading 7-0 as Mitchell throws off his back foot. David Sloan makes the catch, and the tight end has a touchdown.
Wayne Fontes cannot tout David Sloan enough. Keep in mind, this kid is a rookie, a 3rd-round draft choice, and Wayne Fontes says, mark my words, as the years roll along, this guy is going to become the best tight end in the National Football League.
And he beat a safety, not a linebacker. Ordinarily, a rookie tight end would be covered to the linebacker as you use your defensive backs to do double coverage, particularly against the Detroit team. But they went with Michael Zordich. Zordich was beaten completely to the outside, took a little head fake to the inside, and a beautifully thrown ball also.
That man is 6'6", 254 pounds with the speed to go deep.
Hansen for the point after, and he just does boot it through. Sloan scored 1 touchdown this season in November against Tampa Bay.
And only had 17 receptions, but they like what they've seen. They like him in training camp. They drafted him number 3, and as Dan mentioned, he is a huge target going downfield and very athletic.
Well, we mentioned that with the loss of Perriman, someone else has to step to the forefront, and it didn't take David Sloan very long to do so.
Update from Lynn Swan. Lynn?
Well, Al, this field is going to be treacherous for the players all day. As we said, on the near side where it's wet, it's a little oily and it's slippery. The Eagles have changed shoes. They've gone from this shoe with a flatter cleat to one that's more pointed. Now, that's great when you're on the near side, but guess what? On the far side of the field where the sun was hitting it all day, it's extraordinarily dry. This shoe is actually going to overgrip. So no matter what you do today, there's going to be a problem with the footwear. Guys are just going to have to get their bodies under control, make sure they plant properly to make their cuts, because it will be slippery a lot of places on the field. Al?
I wonder if that could have happened to Brett Perriman. It looked like his right foot was kind of trapped under him. And as Ben pointed out, that was a side of the field that is very grippy. We'll be getting the word, I'm sure, about Perriman's condition.
1:58 remaining in the opening quarter. Witherspoon back to receive the kick. It's an angled kick, and that one will go out of bounds, and that means Philadelphia will have the ball at the 40-yard line as Jason Hansen boots it out of bounds. And
That's almost unforgivable, booting the ball out of bounds on a kickoff these days, with the penalty being that you get it at the 40-yard line. That's a backbreaker.
so that shot of the sports complex here in Philadelphia, Veterans Stadium, and the Spectrum across the street, still the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. And then those two teams will move just out yonder there. That new building is the new indoor facility ready to open next year here in Philadelphia.
Well, we got a brand new love affair here with the Eagles and owner Jeffrey Lurie and the city of Philadelphia. Changes quickly around here.
First down for Rodney Peete and the Eagles from the 40-yard line, and over the middle it's Ed West, the tight end, making the catch on a first down as he gets it into Detroit territory, tackled by Spielman.
Ed West been around now 12 years, had those great years at Green Bay, over 200 receptions. But one of the unlikely players that I mentioned at the top of the show that Ray Rhodes knew when he was up in Green Bay, decided he could bring him here and he'd be a big help. Guy McIntyre, 62, a 49er with Ray Rhodes. He's very familiar with these players.
First down, Ricky Waters goes to the outside, chased by Johnson, and then run out of bounds after a short gain. Been a fascinating year with Ricky. Opening day, he didn't lay out for a pass over the middle, and he was asked about it. He said, for what, for whom? Big headlines, and automatically everybody came down on him. But as the year progressed, they got what they wanted from Ricky Waters.
And I think it's because of Ray Rhodes, who could have, you know, how he handled Ricky early on in the season, I think was really going to tell the direction of this football team. And the way he disciplined Ricky was behind closed doors, and he got his production out of him, almost 1,300 yards.
2nd and 8, juggling catch is made by Fred Barnett, and he's close to a first down. Appears to be just a little short of it inside the 39-yard line. The report from the locker room is that Perriman suffered an injured right knee, probably will not return. Nothing more specific from the Lions locker room.
Calvin Williams up close to the first down. If that looked familiar, it's had a very 49er-ish look. A slant in. Ball thrown a little behind Calvin Williams, but he does come up with the first down. There's Ray Rhodes, influenced by 12 years with the San Francisco 49ers in 2 shifts. Played out there as a defensive back also.
5 Super Bowl rings for Ray Rhodes.
It's a handful, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Literally. First down at the 38-yard line. Unless you're three-finger Mordecai, Brown, then it's a different story.
That's why so many of us have none.
Right.
Some guys have too many.
Here is Garner breaking one, and Charlie Garner is inside the 20, inside the 10, and out of bounds at the 9-yard line.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, he's little, but he plays so big. And it was just a little over a week ago as we look at Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, that They took 3 pins out of a broken wrist of Charlie Garner, and he came back after a couple of weeks off to play last week against Chicago, and he just spurts for a big one here in this playoff game. He is so quick. Now to the outside and turns it on. He is, what a changeup he is with Ricky Waters.
And that is the end of the quarter. The game tied 7-7. Back we come to Philadelphia after this message and a word from our ABC station. Tomorrow night, New Year's Eve, and football here on ABC. The Nokia Sugar Bowl from New Orleans. Virginia Tech, number 13, and Texas, number 9. It begins at 7 o'clock Eastern time, 4 in the afternoon Pacific tomorrow right here on ABC. First and goal as we start the second quarter, and Garner swings to the outside and picks up 3, taking it to the 5. Tackled there by Ryan McNeil. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf, Lynn Swan for this NFC wild card game at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. First time a playoff game has been held here in 5 years.
Well, this offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles, as we look at that spectacular sunset, they have been challenged by Ray Rhodes. They have played at times pitifully in the last month, and he has challenged them. And I'll tell you something, they're answering it. Right now, they're controlling the line of scrimmage against the Lions.
Second and goal, Garner again, and he takes it to the 1-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and goal.
Good cutback by the little man. Garner, who you have to respect going to the outside. You often overrun him because if you don't, he'll turn the corner on you. But he can cut back. He's not all that big, but he is not afraid of bringing it back to the middle. Watch him. You got to respect the outside. Now look. Brings it back to the inside and gets close to the goal line.
Nice job by Guy McIntyre pulling around the corner and pinning it back to the inside. Somebody better get stout here for the Lions.
3rd and goal. Waters in the game, and Waters goes down. So they run Garner twice, take him out, but a 2-back set in with Saxon blocking. He can't get the job done, and Mike Wells tackles Waters. 4th down.
Detroit in that goal line defense, and now will come Gary Anderson to put the 3 on the board.
Eagles settling for a field goal attempt. John Hudson will snap it. Tommy Hutton will put it down, and Gary Anderson with little more than an extra point right here, except it counts for 3. He bangs it through, and he does. 21-yard field goal. So Philly retakes the lead with 12:56 to play in the half. 10-7. Gary Anderson with that field goal. He's now kicked 14 straight in postseason play. He came over from Pittsburgh, where he had a long and distinguished career. The NFL record most consecutive in postseason. Raphael Septien with the Cowboys in the late 70s and early 80s with 15.
There's John Tierling on the left talking to Chris Spielman, going over the different looks that the Eagles gave them offensively last time around.
And Gary Anderson sends a line drive inside the 5, fielded there by Alan Williams, a rookie from Maryland, and he is taken down at the 12-yard line, slipping on the turf. And that will force Detroit to start deep again in its own territory.
It really is a problem. This is a simple cut to get to the outside and just planting that right foot. You can see the moisture come off the carpet.
First down, Detroit up at the 12-yard line. No penalties in the game to this point. Barry Sanders loses the football, but Morton is there alertly to cover up. Barry had gone over 500 handles without fumbling, and then he fumbled on back-to-back handles against Arizona earlier this season, and then just one fumble over the last 3 months of the year.
With Barry Sanders, you're so conscious of trying to make sure you make the tackle that you don't try to strip it too often unless somebody else has you in the grass. you're going to make the tackle. Forget about trying to strip him.
Knees looked like they were down, but the officials didn't call it that way as Mitchell throws, and David Sloan was the intended receiver, and complete third down.
Boy, William Thomas, a dangerous linebacker, and he was on the coverage. And Scott Mitchell, you look at videotapes all week long, you know that Thomas is so quick. He was on the coverage. He's had 7 interceptions on his way to the Pro Bowl. You got to be very careful around William Thomas when you're throwing the football.
3rd and 6, and the crowd rising as one at Veterans Stadium with their Eagles up by 3. Mitchell throws, and it's incomplete. Aubrey Matthews couldn't hold on to 22. 4th down. Mark McMillan with the coverage.
And good coverage it was. McMillan not as respectful of Matthews.
71 offense. 5 yards. Repeat 3rd down.
First flag of the game. It's on Zephros Moss.
And really a break for the Eagles. I mean, a break for the Lions, rather, in the display never happened. And this isn't anything that the Eagles could turn down, so they'll get another opportunity to go for the first down. Granted, from 5 yards farther back, but they will get another shot at the first down. You know, this is one the Eagles would just as soon never happen.
Well, this is the area where you got to be just a little careful you don't turn it over, and you would think that maybe they try to get the ball in the hands of Barry Sanders, something very conservative, high percentage, very tricky turf down here. You have to be careful.
Crowd was so loud that nobody heard the last whistle. Mitchell deep, and it's Moore making the catch, but he was out of bounds.
Like I said, be very careful.
Bobby Taylor with the coverage.
Actually, you throw it down the sidelines, and that was a pretty well thrown ball by Scott Mitchell. The coverage was pretty good. He just literally led Moore out of bounds.
Well, I think Bobby Taylor is lighting this thing up so far. Now, he's got his right arm dangerously there on the left arm of Herman Moore. But to this point in time, for a rookie, Bobby Taylor's play has been exceptional.
Royals with a very short kick.
Well, he had pressure.
And that's out of bounds near the 40-yard line.
Mark, the Royals had to hurry that one.
They march it off, spotted at the 39, and that's where Pete and the Eagles take over at the Lion 39. 11:48 to the half. 10-7 Philadelphia. Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, facility located south of downtown, opened in 1971. Bobby Taylor provided the coverage on that last pass for Moore. Now the Eagles take over at the Detroit 39-yard line. Rodney Peete had trouble with the ball and then gets it away to Ricky Waters. And Waters with a 14-yard gain, forced out by Massey at the 25-yard line.
A slick little play fake inside and a really kind of a bobbled snap, but Ricky Waters gets caught in the rubble, and nobody from Detroit bothered to cover the intermediate zone, Frank. They were all at least 15 yards deep.
And you have got to account for number 32 when you're playing the Eagles. You can't let him get caught in the rubble. You have to know where he is. Here he is. Like you said, he kind of hides in there. But somebody has got to be with 32, or he is going to kill you.
They were not within 15 yards of the line.
Waters again. And he's taken out. That's a nice play by Spielman, because he was the only Lion there at the point of attack, and he was able to hang in for Herb Patera's defensive group. Gain of 2.
Herb Patera and Jack Terlink, the Minnesota Viking coach who came over this year with the more an attack-oriented defense. He put in the 4-3, and they got on the same page about 7 or 8 weeks ago, and this has become an attack defense, not only up front, but in the secondary also. They're playing good defense.
Second down and 8. Rodney Peete is 7 of 10. Floats one toward the end zone. Caught! Touchdown, Fred Barnett.
Beautifully thrown. On a scale of 1 to 10, that's a 10 even.
Laid it in there, kept it in bounds, over the defender. Rodney Peete, who struggled the last few weeks, particularly last week, was dead solid perfect on that.
You couldn't have thrown that ball an inch further or an inch closer. Absolutely perfectly delivered by Rodney Peete.
Gary Anderson for the extra point. .10:43 to the half, and the Eagles have a 10-point lead. Fred Barnett out of Arkansas State, catching Pete's touchdown toss, 17-7. Anderson with a bouncing kick that goes through the legs of Ron Rivers, still spinning. And Rivers taken down as he brings it back to the 12-yard line by the swarming Philadelphia coverage unit. David Whitmore making the tackle.
Ron Rivers lets it go right between his legs, and again with the turf being a little slick, that ball takes a funny bounce. He protected it with his body, but it came right between the legs, and it'll be a tough field position to start for Detroit.
Well, right now, Detroit's defense is reeling a little bit. They need a long drive by this offensive team.
And Barry Sanders finds no room at all. Cut it back and ran into Lomas Brown, and then Thomas and Romanowski take him down.
On the road, down by 10 points in a playoff football game. This Detroit offense better go back and take a deep breath in that huddle and figure out a way to come up with a couple of first downs, because they better keep their defensive team off the field for a while.
Barry having trouble on this turf also. You've seen slip. Well, it cuts so quickly, it really hurts him.
When they run to the right, they're challenging the strength of the Eagles defense in William Fuller and Andy Harmon. If they're to have success, I'd go left.
On second down, 11. It is incomplete. He tried to jam it into Moore, who looks for a flag, doesn't get one. Zordich with the coverage.
Zordich almost had the football. Michael Zordich looked like he had more of the football than Herman Moore. With Brett Perryman out of the lineup, you know the focus is now going to be on Herman Moore. Underneath, it's Zordich, and he's all over the ball. Taylor back behind Herman Moore, and I think Herman can get used to that for the rest of the ball game.
Third down and 11. Henry Thomas hoping to stay off the field for a while, and if the Lions don't go 3 and out. Intercepted at the 22. Barry Wilburn. Touchdown, Philadelphia.
Emmett Thomas, the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, has reason to celebrate, as does everybody at the vet.
Remember in the first quarter, and it was overthrown by Scott Mitchell. He tried to bring that underneath, and Barry Wilburn was underneath, and he picked it off.
And Jeffrey and Christina Lurie, the owners of the team, celebrate. 23-7 going on 24.
Well, the Detroit offense didn't even do a 3 and out. 3 and touchdown.
And it all began when the kickoff was bobbled by Ron Rivers.
Philly has converted both interceptions into touchdowns. Barry Wilburn, the longtime former Redskin, runs this one back for 6, and it's 24-7. Barry Wilburn, 5 years with the Washington Redskins, out of football for 2 years, then to Cleveland, then to the Canadian League, then out again, and at the age of 32, back here. He's made it 24-7. Wilburn, in the one Super Bowl game in which he played, Washington against Denver after the '87 season, had 2 interceptions that day. Gary Anderson to kick off, 24-7. The Eagles on top. Kick taken at the 9-yard line by Ron Rivers. Dragged down up at the 25-yard line. Tackle made by Mark Woodard. Maybe ABC's coverage of the NFC wildcard playoff being brought to you by Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer. We are driving excitement. McDonald's, have you had your break today? And Budweiser, official sponsor of the 1996 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. Speaking of Pontiac, that's where the Lions wish they were right now. From their own 25, the catch is made by Aubrey Matthews. We talked about it at the top. Dome teams have had a terrible time in the playoffs on the road outdoors, and Mitchell's had a terrible time on the road this year, comparatively speaking. At home, as you can see, his rating 108.7. On the road, 77.7. And 2 interceptions in Pontiac, 10 away from there, and 2 today. 2nd and 5. Mitchell throws, and that's picked off by Gouveia. In and out of Sloan's hands, and Gouveia with the interception.
Nightmare. Right now, Scott Mitchell is playing like a player who's in complete shock. It's not an out-of-body experience, Scott, no matter how much you wish that it was. It isn't.
Greg Gouveia, we talked about earlier, a good pass defender as a linebacker for many years with the Washington Redskins. That's a great play. And David Sloan could have reacted a little more quickly to it, but look at Gouveia. He knocks it up in the air, then makes the play.
Well, we called Rodney Pete's pass a 10. From a defensive standpoint, that was a 10. It's just a perfect play by Kurt Gouveia.
From the 32-yard line, Rodney Pete going for 6 more, and off the hand of Fred Barnett. He could get only the right arm up and couldn't hold on.
Ooh, Benny Blades saved the touchdown.
Oh, he did.
The ball just came in just a tad late, giving Blades an opportunity to get back and break it up.
Oh, and you saw Rodney Pete. He knew exactly that, Dan. He shook his head. If he would have thrown it just a little more quickly, it's 6 points. And he lofted it up there where Blades could get a hand and break it up.
Fred couldn't have been much more open.
Yeah.
From between the 20 to the 5.
2 hands would have helped.
No, not a good throw.
2nd and 10, and Charlie Garner tries to get outside and is dragged down by Mike Johnson, the linebacker.
The problem with so much time left in this ball game, John Gruden, the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, works from upstairs. But the problem for the Lions in this ball game, they just don't have any mistakes left. They just are now in a position, down 24-7, where whatever errors they could make and still hope to win this ball game have already been used up.
Right
This
now
cat has run out of lives.
Dan, right now they need a big play from this
Oh,
defense.
yeah.
And if that means take a little gamble here, then that's what they're going to have to do.
3rd and 10, 8 minutes to go in the half. Philly leading by 17. And that's caught for a first down. Fred Barnett.
You know, I'm watching the Lions play this football game, fellas, and I'm thinking back to what Wayne Fonts told us last night. He said, you know, I'm concerned a little bit that my guys aren't a little too loose, that we haven't won all these ball games. We've won 7 in a row, and that they're just not feeling a little too good about themselves. And I'm going to try to talk to them tonight and reel them in a little bit. And right now, you know what? They're playing like a team that's feeling pretty good about themselves.
From the 18-yard line, Waters slips on the turf, and that's a loss of 3. Spielman will get credit for the tackle.
Lions know, as we look at Wayne Fonts, even down 24-7, they have a very explosive football team. So far, the Eagles have taken Barry Sanders right out of this football game. Some way they're going to have to get back to him, whether he working into the passing game or whatever. But again, I think look at the slip by Charlie Waters on that right side of the field, nearest to us. We've watched it all evening long.
Well, Spielman forced that slip by Ricky Waters. He was in the right place. Ricky tried to go back the other direction.
2nd and 13, and Carpenter was the intended receiver, and that's busted up by Ryan McNeil.
Oh, and Rob Carpenter wanted to call McNeil with a hand in there, but the official was right there. McNeil trying to cover the slant in. Well, he's all over him. But you're allowed contact in that first 5 yards.
3rd down, 13, 6:42 to go first half. Philadelphia 24, Detroit 7. Pete protected well over the middle. This is Calvin Williams. Flag comes in. Blades makes the stop at the 13, well short of the first down, pending the flag. Ron Blum is the referee.
This might be holding against Detroit.
Crossing pattern, Barnett.
If it is, it's an automatic first down.
And Wayne knows it.
Barnett and Williams were crossing, and could be that or a pick. It will be holding.
Rodney knew it at the outset.
Of course, if you're looking downfield and you see your prime receiver being held, you're going to help the official.
Holding 31 defense, 5 yards from the previous spot, first down.
Another critical mistake that the Lions just don't have to give.
Corey Raymond, the former Giant, who had a superb year with Detroit with 6 interceptions.
First and 10 now at the 15-yard line. Garner in the backfield. Garner with the football. Picked up a 1 to the 14-yard line. Dan talking about Wayne Fonts contending that maybe his team feeling too good about themselves. Meanwhile, we asked Ray Rhodes last night, who delivered a fiery pregame speech prior to the Dallas game, what he was going to tell his Eagles. And he said, I'm going to tell them this is about manhood. I'm looking for fighters.
And he was going to make it clear that those of you that chose not to fight, well, you won't be here next year. He was extremely disappointed with their effort last week against the Chicago Bears, and he's looking to roll a few heads.
Second down and 9. It's caught. Barnett, and Barnett is stopped just short of the goal line. First and goal.
Well, I think those that were in his doghouse are quickly working their way out. Fred Barnett's one of them. I think it's safe to say that Fred Barnett has not had the kind of year that neither he nor the Eagles wanted him to have. But what a first half he's having so far in this ballgame. Fred's catching everything that's coming his way.
And over the middle, too, Dan. And that has been the problem with Barnett. In the eyes of his coach, Ray Rhodes, and this time totally focused on the ball. Great concentration.
First and goal inside the 1, and Waters, despite juggling the handoff, is in there.
Well, right now, the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles is just taking it to the Lions. They own these guys up front, and they are kicking some butt.
"21 points off turnovers for the Eagles.
Brooks and McIntyre and McKenzie and Boatswain and Davis. These guys are getting it done up front. A good lead block by James Saxton. A good pin block by Ed West at tight end. And a lot of Detroit Lions are on the ground.
And not bad running.
Gary Anderson for the point after with 4:59 left in the half. Ricky Waters, no stranger to postseason play. We talked about Waters with 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl last year. Nothing compared to what he did a couple of years before in a playoff game at Candlestick Park, San Francisco, against the New York Giants. That was the day Ricky Waters got into the end zone 5 times. An NFL postseason record, 5 touchdowns for Waters against the Giants.
They're all from inside the 10. Still rather impressive. But he's the man. You got to put the football in his hands.
Well, the last time the Lions won a postseason road game was 1957. They beat the 49ers. It was a memorable game, though, because they were down in that one 27-7. And so they're going to have to duplicate that feat here. They're down 31-7 with 4:59 left in the first half.
Well, Scott Mitchell has to start by completing a pass to somebody on his own team.
What'd you say this game was?
That would help.
A good old-fashioned.
Ron Rivers banged down up at the 25-yard line. Tackle made by Derek Oden.
No, that's not an incorrect graphic. It is 31-7. Can you imagine what is going through the minds of everyone in the Detroit Lions uniform? They are stunned. This is the type of a set of circumstances that your mind has trouble comprehending. That you are this far behind this early in a ball game.
First and 10 at the 25-yard line. Barry Sanders up to the 30. Earlier today, Miami lost. Buffalo won it at Rich Stadium, 34-22 over the Dolphins. Miami will take on Pittsburgh next week, and then Kansas City will host the winner of tomorrow's San Diego-Indianapolis game. The winner of this game will go to Dallas if Green Bay wins tomorrow, or to San Francisco if Atlanta were to win tomorrow. Second and 5. Mitchell guns one up to the 41. Matthews makes the catch. Got a flag of the injured Perriman and a marker down. Ron Blum, the referee. We last saw Ron last week. He was the referee in the snowball game at the Meadowlands against Philadelphia.
Legal hands to the face. 96 defense. Penalties decline. First down.
That's Mark Gunn, a defensive tackle. Defensive end, plays both positions. He gets called for illegally going to the face. There he is in the middle working against Scott Conover. You can see he's got his hand on his face mask. And boy, that'll put a little stress test on your neck.
First and 10 at the 40-yard line as Mitchell throws underneath. Barry Sanders makes the catch and works his way across the 50 for a Detroit first down.
And the Lions with a couple first downs here on this drive, and it's been a while since they've had any. This offense has not gotten a whole lot done here lately, and I would keep up what they're doing, and that's getting the ball in the hands of Barry Sanders as often as I can. Make the guy who can make the big plays for you, make him a part of this game.
Mitchell going deep, and it's batted down by Bobby Taylor.
Well, there's going to be a spot for Bobby Taylor in Honolulu in the years ahead if he keeps going like this.
Great coverage on the NFL's #1 receiver, right with him, and he is all alone with him. He was not getting help inside. Just a superb job, and if you weren't with us earlier, Brett Perriman has gone out of this game. The Detroit Lions' other 100-yard reception receiver, injured knee, but look at that play by the rookie from Notre Dame.
Second and 10. And Barry Sanders gets pinballed down at the 41.
But pinball is a very good description, Al, and it's a very complimentary description when you're talking about a defensive team, because more than one guy is making the hit, more than one guy is making the tackle. And Ray Rhodes has this defensive team swarming to the football. They're stamping the quarterback, they're stamping the ball carrier, they're stamping the receiver. They're playing the way he looks, angry.
Ray always looks angry. Third down and 2. And the catch is not made. It's incomplete at the 36-yard line. Herman Moore went down to get it, hit the turf. So it's fourth down. I think I might have mistakenly said Miami plays at Pittsburgh next week. If I did, it's Buffalo, obviously, since they won. What I meant was the Panthers will meet the Penguins.
I wonder if you knew something we didn't know. Oh, good work, Al.
Do you like that? Fair catch is called for at the 16-yard line and made by Rob Carpenter off the boot by Mark Royals.
You're so good, I thought maybe we were wrong on that score.
There's a guy that deserves an awful lot of credit for the way that Philadelphia has rebounded this year, and that's Emmett Thomas. This is his first year of being a defensive coordinator in the National Football League, a longtime assistant, a great player in his own right with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he has molded people like Bobby Taylor and old veterans like William Fuller and Bill Romanowski, and he has made a really cohesive unit out of this defensive football team.
Thomas, a great defensive back with Kansas City, and I think taken by Ray Rhodes because so many years with the Redskins, he knows this NFC East so well. He's done a great job.
First down, 16-yard line. Waters. You know what's so improbable about Philadelphia is that, I mean, Ray Rhodes was a choice after Jimmy Johnson could have said boo. Dick Vermeil could have had the job. Mike Shanahan could have had the job. Who knows who else? And finally it got down to Rhodes, and he finally got a shot. And the next thing you know, he's the AP's coach of the year.
That was the first thing he said when they interviewed him. He said, I don't tell jokes, I don't laugh. He said, yep, but I'll give you a winner. I'll work.
Yep, don't do luncheons.
Now, could you believe a guy like that would say, I don't laugh, but I don't do jokes? This guy's always got a smile on his face.
The Delaware River glistening on this late December night. Turnovers, so often the story in football, both regular and postseason. 38 of the last 40 postseason games have been won by the team with the turnover advantage, and that is the story today. The Lions have turned it over 3 times on interceptions, and Philadelphia has cashed in on each occasion. 2nd and 7 now from the 19 with 2 minutes to go, and Ricky Waters swings to the outside, picks up a first down. The Lions were ready to call a defensive timeout to try to get the ball back, but Waters had other ideas. Now it's first down Philadelphia.
Now you talk about those turnovers, 3 interceptions already. Scott Mitchell only had 12 all season long. The Eagles defense so opportunistic this evening. They came in to be disruptive. We talked about it at the very top of the game, Dan, and they have been just that.
First and 10 at the 32-yard line. Draw to Waters. As Ricky knights his way through the middle, there's a flag down in the offense.
That's got to be holding. That's got to be holding against the Eagles. And right at the point of attack, too.
Holding, 69 offense, 10 yards, repeat first down.
Yeah, Harry Boatswain that time, I think, is locked up with Robert Porcher. And it's a draw coming right in behind Boatswain, and he spins him around. He's the second guy in there from the left. Right there, 69. You see him with the left arm right on number 91, Porcher. And that happens just 2 yards right in front of the referee. You're not going to get away with that.
Eagles' first penalty of the night. The Lions wound up tied for the league lead in penalties with Oakland. But that hasn't been the problem for them today. First down and 20 now. And Ricky Waters takes it up to the 31-yard line. It'll be second and about 12.
Again, quality work up front by this Eagles offensive line.
They've been a good running team all year long. They're 4th in the league after final tabulation in running the football, but they've done a great job, the offensive line. Now they've had to make a lot of changes, a lot of injuries.
Well, they've lost 3 of their starters. They've had to move a lot of people around. But it's an offensive team that again has been challenged by Rhodes, and boy have they responded.
Here's Garner, and Garner for another first down before he's hogtied by Benny Blades. Garner led the league in yards per carry for those who carried at least 100 times, 5.4, and he's taken down hard at the end of the play.
Well, Benny Blades winds up, and this is pretty close to the old-fashioned clothesline where he drives the forearm. Watch his from the left side of your screen right there. He comes in with the forearm and gets it right on the neck of Charlie Garner.
Perfectly good tackle. There were no fingers on that mask. Benny Blades will give you a pop.
First and 10 from the 50-yard line now. Rodney Peete guns it over the middle, finds the open man. It's Reggie Johnson, the tight end, and a timeout called by the Eagles with 29 seconds to play in the half. Philadelphia leading Detroit 31-7. Let's check in our New York studios with Robin Roberts. Robin?
Coming up on the Toyota halftime report, you know that Dave and Marcus will have something to say about the first half. We'll also look back at our first game between the Bills and Dolphins and hear from the Niners quarterback Steve Young. All that coming up on the Toyota halftime report. Right now, let's go back to Al, Frank, and Dan at the vet for the exciting conclusion of the first half.
The line went out. Marcus is going to say, I'm glad I'm not in it with Detroit.
It'd be all right to be in it.
It's a nightmare.
It'd be all right to be in it if you're wearing a white jersey.
We've all been there, and you know what it's like, Dan. Nothing works for you. A few moments ago, Detroit, as Al mentioned, was considering taking a defensive timeout down at when Philadelphia had the ball at the 17-yard line. Now they're in dire danger of giving up some more points.
First and 10 at the 28-yard line. 29 ticks left in the opening half. Pete underneath. He hits Carpenter. He slips on the turf at the 26-yard line. And Philadelphia takes another timeout. They have one remaining.
Well, Wayne Fonts was looking at a 4th and 2 the last time that the Lions had the ball. He elected to go ahead and punt it, even though he's down 31-7. I'm sure going through his mind that maybe we could force him to a 3-and-out and we'll get one more shot at it. But boy, has this backfired. The Eagles have taken the ball and gone right down the field with it, in danger of scoring some more points before halftime.
Already in Gary Anderson field goal range. Tonight on ABC, New Year's weekend starts with the Jeff Foxworthy show. And next, then No Holiday is complete without an Ernest movie. The network and the look of Ernest rides again.
And the look on his face, it looks like he's a Lions fan. That's about the way that most of them, I think, are feeling right about now. How can this be?
This drive began at the Philly 16-yard line. On 2nd and 7. Speed rolling, flag is thrown, and it is incomplete.
Big penalty coming up here, I think, on Philadelphia. I think they got Anton Davis, the right tackle, who tackled Antonio London, and that's going to move them back, and this is going to put the hurt on an Anderson field goal.
78 offense, 10 yards, repeat 2nd down.
Yeah, Anton this time gave up the inside to London, who took it, and Anton was forced to put the big hook on him. Take a look at it at the bottom of your screen. Number 78's Davis. There goes London to the inside, and there's the hook.
So it's 2nd down, 18 from the 36. 18 seconds and one timeout for Philadelphia. And Rodney Peete is going to get sacked back at the 43-yard line by Henry Thomas.
Now they're way out of field goal range.
Is that the first sack the Detroit Lions have come up with?
Number one.
Number one, and by Henry Thomas, who had his career high of 10.5 sacks this year in Detroit's defense. They have struggled tonight.
And to let the clock run down. A near perfect first half for Philadelphia. A horrible first half for Detroit. 3 interceptions, all turned into touchdowns. And a timeout was called by Philadelphia, even though the Lions and some of the Eagles had started off the field. Philadelphia figures, why not take one shot at the end zone? What do you have to lose?
Throw that ball up in the air, hope for the defensive foul. Come up with 3.
As we all know, it can't end on a defensive penalty. So go ahead. Maybe you'll get the catch in the end zone. Maybe you'll get the penalty against Detroit that'll allow you to kick a field goal. But it's really indicative of the never say die attitude of Ray Rhodes.
And pretty smart coach. He is on top of this game. That is his life. He'll tell you that. There'll be the trips to the left, and one would suspect Rodney Peete will just flip it as far as he can. Look for the defensive foul.
3rd down from the 43-yard line. Walking it toward the end zone and picked the
Oh my God!
Carpenter caught it. How in the world did Carpenter catch it?
Well, let's go back to the timeout that was called by Ray Rhodes. It began there. And Wayne says, what a nightmare I'm in. How in the world? 3 defenders were there.
32 is Willie Clay. He's right on the ball. He just jumps up and has it taken away by Rob Carpenter. Willie Clay was the only Lion defensive back that made a play on the football. There was a classic case of letting the other guy do it.
And a classic Philadelphia Eagle for this year, 95. Rob Carpenter had been with the Jets, he'd been with Cincinnati, he'd been with New England. Something about him the Ray Rhodes liked. So typical of so many of these Philadelphia Eagles. Very unlikely, but when they have come together, they have played as a football team.
That football is in the air. Only Willie Clay goes after it. A whole bunch of Lions stand around, and only Carpenter makes a play for it.
38-7. Back we come after this message from the NFL and a word from our ABC stations. We start the second half at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf, and Lynn Swan. 38-7. Philadelphia. And they'll get the ball as Hansen falls down. And then the kick is bobbled and covered at the 31-yard line. As Derek Oden.
Well, I can only imagine that the Detroit Lions are going to come out fighting here in the second half. It doesn't take a very creative person to imagine what Wayne Fontes had to say to his ball club at halftime. Hansen slips and falls.
You've seen that twice tonight. And he hurt his hand.
Yeah, he sure did. He fell awkwardly on the left side. But if it's not bad enough, the Eagles, again, start with a football in really good field position. But I would look, if nothing else, for the Detroit Lions to play a whole lot more aggressively.
Rodney Peete goes to the air and throws high, intended for Calvin Williams. It'll be 2nd and 10.
I think that first call was just to let Detroit know we're not going to sit on the lead. We're not going to be running the football on every play. We're willing to put it in the air.
Turnovers, the big story in the first half. 3 of them converted into 21 points.
And then that half-ending debacle in the end zone where the Lions literally stand around and watch the Eagles convert a Hail Mary for a touchdown.
2nd and 10, Ricky Waters up to the 35. And again, just to update, Brett Perriman with a knee injury, and there he is, and he is obviously done for the day. He was carted off in the first quarter, and Barry Sanders has been a non-factor in the game.
Well, now that we've pretty much covered everything that's gone wrong with Detroit, we ought to credit Ray Rhodes and his Eagles because they have played a splendid first half. It's hard to imagine this ball club playing any better than they played in the first half.
3rd down and 6 from the 35-yard line. He throws, and it's dropped up at the 38-yard line by Fred Barnett. He can't hang on. Willie Clay with the coverage. And let's check in with Lynn Swan. Lynn?
Well, Al, when Wayne Fontes walked off the field, he said that the Detroit Lions are getting beat at every point and every aspect of the game. But inside the locker room, he was not overly emotional. He told his team, don't give up. If you don't think you can win, don't come out for the second half. Also, Tom Moore told me in the second half, look for a 2-minute game, a fast game for the entire second half. And also Wayne Fontes said, if Scott Mitchell is not playing well at the beginning of the third quarter, he will not hesitate to substitute him and pull him out. Al?
And they're going to have to start at their own 3-yard line after that Tom Hutton punt was down by Jerome Henderson. A 62-yard kick. The conceivability of a change, Don Mikowski, the magic man on the sideline. But you don't want to think about coming into a game when you're down 31 in the third quarter.
Or giving the hook to the man who rewrote the Detroit Lions passing record book.
Sure. There's some Mikowski, and they better ask him first.
First down at the 4-yard line. Scott Mitchell swings one out, and it's dropped by Barry Sanders.
They're liable to go to Magic, and he's liable to say, for what? For who?
Well,
why me?
That drop ball, even by Barry Sanders, there kind of typifies what can go wrong will go wrong when it starts to happen like this. The wheels totally coming off the Detroit Lions machine.
2nd down and 10 at the 4-yard line early in the third quarter. 38-7 Philadelphia. And Mitchell under pressure. Couldn't get that one away.
Near 2-pointer there.
3rd down. How do you figure? Detroit, the hottest team in the league, 7 straight wins. Philadelphia looked pretty awful last week against Chicago. And then you have today's game.
Well, thanks for looking at me, Frank. I was waiting for you to explain that. First of all, one of the reasons is Philadelphia has been a great deal more physical than has Detroit. They have dominated the line of scrimmage both offensively and defensively, and they capitalized early on some really poor passes by Scott Mitchell. He's gotten off to a horrible start.
3rd down and 10. And that's almost picked off. It seems as if there are nothing but white shirts around Barry Wilburn that time.
Let's go back to what we said earlier. I think the Detroit Lions came in here. They'd won 7 in a row. They were on a big-time roll. They were reading about themselves everywhere they looked. They were the team that could go all the way. I think they just came in there so overconfident. And that really goes back to the coaching job. You have got to recognize that might happen. You've got to get their attention. This is the team that came in here totally full of themselves, and they have had it really put to them.
Royals bangs one out of the end zone. It will be fair caught at the 49-yard line by Witherspoon, and that's where the Eagles will take possession with 13:37 left in the 3rd. Independence Hall, all lighted up during the holiday season. I thought that was, wait a minute, is that City Hall? That's City Hall, okay. The Fiend.
There, Rendell looking on. And Jeffrey Laurie.
1st down from the 50-yard line as Garner swings to the outside and gets pushed out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Ryan McNeil is there for the coverage. 31 points for the Eagles in the 2nd quarter alone. 2nd highest 1-quarter total in NFL postseason history.
You'd think this was a Super Bowl.
You would have. The only bigger explosion would have been 35 by Washington against Denver in the Super Bowl following the '87 season.
That was 22, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Because we were there.
We were there.
Jack Murphy.
Kings of the blowouts. 2nd and 5. Charlie Garner. That was the game I mentioned before. Barry Wilburn had 2 interceptions in that game, but all you'll remember is Doug Williams, the fantastic day, and
Timmy Smith.
Ricky Sanders had a tremendous day, and Timmy Smith.
MVP, what, 200, 203, 204, something like that?
On the ground, and they blew out after Denver had taken a 10-0 lead. Washington scored 42 unanswered points. 3rd down and 5. Spielman looking on from the sideline. 3rd and 5 at the 45 with Waters in motion. Pete. Waters. They do it again.
What a brilliant design play, though. That had to come from something they picked up against the Lions defense. They've got Ricky Waters locked up with Mike Johnson. They brought him in motion. He turned up, and Rodney Peete wasn't looking anywhere in the football field. He knew the Waters was going to be there, and this is fine coaching.
Ricky's taking a victory lap.
He knew he would be there. Waters locked up with the linebacker, Mike Johnson. That's a no contest.
Gary Anderson for the point after.
Falling behind, moved into being embarrassed. That's moved into being humiliated. And there's a lot of football yet to be played. Are being shattered here at the vet.
Alvin Williams takes the kickoff and gets dragged down at the 18-yard line.
When it starts to go this way for a football team, you see swarming type tackles. And we'll get a face mask call against Philadelphia, but everyone wants to be a part of the act.
Take a look at the possessions for Detroit. Punt, interception, then a touchdown, punt, 2 picks, and 2 more punts.
And look at the time. Look at the fourth one was 7 plays. That is the longest possession they have had today. They dropped then to 6, and then 5-4, and the rest of them 3s and a 2. That is just an embarrassing offensive output by by any team, even an average offensive team, much less a record-breaking offensive collection like the Lions have put on the field here today.
And they've taken Sanders out of the game, and they've taken Herman Moore out of the game. Moore has 2 catches for 12 yards. Sanders 8 rushes for 25 yards. First down at the 33. Herman Moore makes his 3rd catch and picks up a first down. Well, we mentioned Ray Rhodes last night telling his team this is about manhood and all of the rest. Here's a guy whose team didn't figure to be in the playoffs, but they're here, and he's clearly telling his guys it's just not good enough to get to the playoffs.
He told them that. I don't want to hear one word about we're lucky to be here. He said this is just the beginning. I'll be disappointed if we don't move on into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl.
This is no fluke either. Ray Rhodes is here to stay.
First and 10 from the 45-yard line. Mitchell comes back the other way, and flag is down. Herman Moore taken out of bounds there by Bobby Taylor.
Tenth round draft pick of the Giants back in 1979. Played defensive back, played wide receiver for the 49ers, and seemingly everywhere he went, things around him improved, and this is something they discovered in research.
Illegal hands to the face. 94 defense. Penalties decline. First down.
That's remarkable. Yeah, you talk about a rollover. Look at that. 34 players are here this year that weren't here last year. Just in one season. If you exclude the 2 expansion teams, nobody else in this league even came close to that.
No assistants. Well, why keep him? Because he wasn't going to have enough personnel around that they knew.
Just wonder how there were enough hours in the day to get it all done.
Brand new coaching staff at the 33-yard line. And that's intercepted. Greg Jackson. 4 picks of Mitchell. Jackson taken down at the 46-yard line.
Again, keep in mind, Mitchell only had 12 in 16 games. He has 4 tonight.
Scott Mitchell pleading his case with whatever official he can get to listen. No amount of words are going to make this one come back.
We'll try to see what Mitchell saw. I think he probably was complaining that one of his receivers was held or interfered with.
First down at the 46-yard line. Waters. And Scroggins flag down.
A flag coming from deep downfield, and it'll work against the Eagles.
And Don Mikowski is preparing to loosen up.
Holding. 83 offense. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Repeat first down.
Ed West.
Looks to me like Scott Mitchell is saying why. I think Scott Mitchell might have just been informed that he's being yanked. Hate to venture a guess, but he was plainly mouthing the words why. And I think we know why. Don Mikowski's warming up.
First and 20, Waters to the 39-yard line.
Waters putting on a bit of a show now.
I think of all the things and all the different thoughts and dreams that went through Scott Mitchell's head about what might transpire here today, I'll guarantee you this never entered his mind. Here's a tape again, what happened just moments ago. Scott Mitchell, maybe the worst day of his career. Certainly in the worst situation.
Doesn't matter that he's from Utah either. Caught up at the 45-yard line by Fred Barnett, and Fred Barnett with a flag down gets run out of bounds at about the 25-yard line.
Well, you can't blame Scott Mitchell in many ways. He's not out there tackling either. And that was pretty feeble.
Just an all-out blitz by the Lions. You know, that's going to put pressure in the secondary on the guys to make the tackles, especially on the corners. And that time Ryan McNeil wasn't able to come up with the tackle. You got to take chances. The Eagles came with everybody up the middle, and that locks up the corners. And with that blitz comes the pressure.
Face mask. 5-yard penalty from the end of the run. No number reported. First down.
That was Ryan McNeil over in the left corner who drew the flag. Right there, number 47 got just a hand on Fred Barnett's mask right in front of the official, and there's the flag.
10 minutes to play, third quarter. Philadelphia leading 45-7. First and 10 with Garner in the backfield. And guys, the way this one is going, it starts to beg the question. It appeared Wayne Fontes was safe. He went from 3-6 to 10-6. And there's an injured Eagle. It's Anton Davis, but it's the fourth time in 5 years they've been to the playoffs. They're getting ripped. And Wither Wayne, 9:45 to go in the third.
Kevin,
Hey.
what happened?
I broke my leg.
Does it hurt?
Feels a lot better now.
Anton Davis still down on the ground, being attended to by Otto Davis and the Eagle training staff. And they can ill afford to lose him at right tackle.
Our coverage of the NFC wildcard playoff game is being brought to you by Jeep, maker of the new Jeep Grand Cherokee. Digital Equipment Corporation. Digital, whatever it takes. And Miller Lite, when you've got the great taste of an ice-cold Miller Lite. Life is good. And life is pretty great right now for the Philadelphia Eagles, who, if Green Bay beats Atlanta tomorrow and they're heavily favored, would make a trip to Dallas next week. If the Packers win tomorrow, the Packers go to San Francisco. The Eagles would go to Dallas.
The Eagles, what was it, 3 weeks ago, beat Dallas right here at Veterans Stadium.
Right.
Boy, there's some good news right there. It doesn't appear to be anything wrong with the legs. When you see somebody down on the ground for that long, that's one of the things that really concerns you, is that maybe it's some type of a leg injury. But Davis looks like he's walking without a limp. Big guys like that kind of sway when they walk. 6'4", 335 pounds of Mr. Davis.
Mo Elowanibi takes his spot at tackle. Second down and 11 as Charlie Garner gets the ball to the 23-yard line, tackled by Chris Spielman. Well, Rodney Peete came off a terrible game in Chicago last week. Scott Mitchell came off a brilliant second half of the year. And then you have today's comparison.
Wonderful vindication for Rodney Peete, who had that bad day against Philadelphia. He has just been brutalized in the media around here, and he has put on quite a show tonight. And there's the man who is expecting wife Felicity at any moment to deliver their first baby.
Third and 10. The catch is made by Fred Barnett inside the 15-yard line, but a little short of the first down.
As it turns out, Randall could have gone.
Now, if Felicity's a week late, you still have the problem next week in Dallas or San Francisco.
Won't be so glaring, though, with Rodney Peete coming off this game as opposed to the one last week. He struggled so mightily in Chicago. Has to be happy for Rodney Peete. He was 6th-round draft pick of the Lions back in 1989, on and off starter for many years. Tore his Achilles in 91. Went to Dallas last year and arrived to Philadelphia to take over here for the Eagles in the 4th game of the season.
32-yard field goal attempt, and Gary Anderson has just tied the record set by Rafael Seppi in 15 consecutive postseason field goals. Tack on 3 more and make it 48-7 Philadelphia. Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, happiest place in town right now. 48-7. The Eagles on top, routing the Detroit Lions, who came into the game favored by about 3. As Gary Anderson, who just kicked a Record-tying 15th consecutive postseason field goal will send it down toward Ron Rivers and Alan Williams. 8-yard line, Alan Williams. Fumble.
Philadelphia is going to get their first break of the night.
James Willis, number 50, was the man who created the fumble, and we've yet to
The only
get a
thing we
signal.
can count on here is that I'm sure that whoever the Philadelphia guy in there is fighting harder than the Detroit guy. And he comes up with the ball. If that's indicative of the way this game has gone, it's no surprise that when it's all said and done, that somebody with an Eagle uniform comes out of there with a football.
Lions' 5th turnover.
Looks like Chris T. Jones.
Special teams coach Danny Smith. A lot of these assistants don't ring familiar to you. Another thing Ray Rhodes did, a brand new staff and a lot of guys out of the college ranks.
Somebody puts a big shot on it there. I think it's James Willis, number 50 of the Eagles, comes in and puts a huge hit. And that's what knocks the ball loose. And this is unthinkable as the Eagles now try for over 50.
With almost 23 minutes left in the game. Waters for about 5. Talked about the coaching staff of the Eagles. A guy like Danny Smith was an assistant at Georgia Tech, and for the most part, Rhodes, in a complete turnover of assistants, went about half and half. Half the guys had pro experience. The other half were just hungry guys out of the college ranks.
Well, what did Ray tell us? He said, I wanted teachers. I didn't want guys coming to me and saying, this guy's dumb. This guy can't figure it out. Or I expected him to know how to do this. I wanted teachers, guys who would pay attention to even the smallest of details.
2nd and 7, Ricky Waters.
Even at the key spots, too, John Groden, the offensive coordinator, you wouldn't know whether to listen to him or burp him. He looks like a child. And again, Emmett Thomas, they elevated him to defensive coordinator, got him from the Washington Redskins. There's Groden on the right. He looked like a choir boy. And, of course, Ray Rhodes knew him from the 49ers. He spent a couple of years out there. And Emmett Thomas on the left, the all-pro cornerback for the Chiefs, an assistant down at Washington for so many years. And what a job they've done with 34 players were turned over in 1 year.
3rd down and 9. They flank Garner wide left. Rodney feet. And that's incomplete. 4th down. So Gary Anderson will come in to try to put him over 50. A live shot of downtown Philadelphia on the penultimate night of the year.
You know, while we're talking about the Eagles coaches, we also ought to pass along our condolences to Dick Jamieson, their running backs coach, who lost his wife Rosie just a little over a week ago, and is having to fight his way through that. And the team has been behind him. And boy, this is here's some welcome salve for that open wound.
40-yard field goal attempt by Gary Anderson, and that is 16 consecutive postseason field goals. And a brand new NFL record for the longtime Pittsburgh Steeler who came over. And you look at Jamieson, whose brother Bob has been an ABC News correspondent for some time.
And Dick, an old friend of mine, was an assistant coach under Jim Hannafin with the St. Louis Cardinals, and one of the game's really good guys. And his heart's broken.
What an eclectic collection, though, of coaches Ray Rhodes brought in. And then to bring them all together, having never worked together, bring in the new players, he's done a marvelous job. He's so happy about it. This and smiling and beaming on the sidelines for us.
Rhodes is one of those totally workaholic coaches, a guy who puts in 18 to 20 hours a day. And in fact, we understand that some of the toll booth operators will call the local sports talk station to let them know what time Ray came across the bridge to head into his office 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes.
And did he ever leave? We asked him if he ever slept there. He said, yeah. He said, but I don't have a bed there. When I went to sleep, I slept in my chair.
What if he smiles in his dreams?
12-yard line of Willie Clay will run this one back, but not very far. Bobby Taylor.
I know one thing. Ray doesn't have a lot of experience with lappers, and that's what he's got on his hands here. And in the playoffs, when does he start taking his frontline guys out and start pointing towards next week?
Don Mikowski comes in. We'll point toward tomorrow, New Year's Eve. The Sugar Bowl comes your way from New Orleans. Virginia Tech takes on Texas, sponsored by Nokia. And then Ohio State and Tennessee, each ranked 4th in separate polls. That's why you have a pair of 4s there New Year's Day in the Citrus Bowl. Don Mikowski, and the Magic Man almost had his first pass picked off. Herman Moore, the intended receiver. Bobby Taylor was there. Also on New Year's Day on Monday at 4:30 Eastern Time, USC taking on Northwestern. The biggest story of the year, the Northwestern Wildcats and what they have done, winning the Big Ten title. Coming away from Pasadena.
Boy, you saw Herman Moore after that pass, motioning back to Don Mikowski. I want the ball over here, not back there.
2nd and 10. The Magic Man throws, and that's incomplete. Zordich might have gotten a hand on it. Intended for Aubrey Matthews.
Can you imagine a receiver telling Bobby Lane that, the Detroit Lions quarterback of the 50s? He would have eaten the football in the huddle.
Well, those were two not very well choreographed offensive pass plays that we saw on 1st and 2nd down by the Detroit Lions, and their new quarterback, Don Mikowski, a veteran, but put in really a bad spot. Nobody wants to go into a football game under these conditions.
3rd down and 10. Eagles leading 51-7. Good coverage, but Moore is able to make the catch despite double coverage.
That's a great catch. Bobby Taylor was there getting support from the inside. Tried to take away the outside. Michael Zordich.
And not an easy throw. Not an easy throw for a cold quarterback. A deep out to the sideline, and Magic puts it right there. But again, look at Taylor. It's hard to play much better than he is.
Mikowski over the outstretched hand of Taylor, and Herman Moore off to the races, and it's a touchdown.
I'm sure glad I said that about Bobby Taylor.
Well, all they needed was Mikowski.
68 yards.
I think Taylor loses track of Herman Moore when Mikowski scrambles out. He really bites on the fact that Mikowski scrambles up. Moore makes a move towards the sideline, and when Herman goes deep, it's all over.
Mikowski with a really fine touch, because the 6'3" Bobby Taylor almost got up there for the deflection. Good touch by Mikowski coming off the bench cold. Hadn't had that much time to warm up.
Bobby learned a big-time lesson there.
Hansen for the point after. That's a good time to learn a lesson, though.
Sure it is.
When you're up 51-7. And that makes it 51-14. Herman Moore 68 yards, and that gives him 6 catches for a $125 on the day.
Hard to imagine you'd get 6 balls for 125 yards and you'd be down 51-14.
Yep.
Nightmare once again for Barry Sanders. We talked about his playoff game last year against the Green Bay Packers. -1 rushing. 1,500-yard rushing. 7 straight seasons now over 1,000 yards, and truly one of the all-time great ball carriers ever to play this game.
Well, we started to talk about it before, the Font situation, where Wayne pretty much in effect given the ultimatum to make the playoffs after they had lost to Atlanta. They reeled off 7 straight, but you wonder what a performance like this, what it does to the minds of both William Clay Ford and his son, who's assuming a larger role in the operation of this franchise.
Well, there's no question that Wayne Font's ally of the two is William Clay Ford Sr. They are friends, and Mr. Ford is put in a tough spot when it comes to Wayne. And you're right, there will be those who love the Lions and who follow the Lions and who talk about the Lions that will take the attitude and take the point that this loss negates that 7-game winning streak. You know, right or wrong, there will be those that take that stance.
Derek Witherspoon from the 7-yard line brings it back to the 21-yard line, and a flag goes down after the play. Late hit. Owens.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, late hit, number 90 of the kicking team. 15 yards, first down.
Dan Owens venting some of the frustration which is felt up and down that Lion bench.
There was an awkward looking play. I can't imagine he'd run in there that late and intentionally. All right, there's the tackle. He's down. You can only assume he didn't see him go down and get up. Nobody in their right mind would hit a guy like that that far after the play.
I think that's exactly it. He didn't realize the tackle had been made and didn't hear the whistle. Derek Witherspoon picks up a yard or two. Scott Mitchell, who would have ever figured Mitchell would be out, Mikowski would be in, and Ray Rhodes could spend the last 20 minutes of the game resting his regulars. As we see Witherspoon in the backfield. Rodney Peete is still in there, though. They tried to engage Rodney this week in some talk about the Lions and his frustration and all that. Rodney said, I'll have none of that. Wayne Fontes and the Lions gave me a chance as they drafted him in the 6th round in 1989. And he loses the football.
I think Rodney got it back. He did. Boy, Porcher almost took the handoff.
No, Detroit saying they've got it. Lion ball.
They get the call. Tremendous penetration by Robert Porcher into the Philadelphia backfield.
Well, the Lions down by 37, making their move.
There's Porcher, gets a great jump on the ball. Barrett Brooks, the left tackle, tries to down block on him. McIntyre in front of him pulls. I think Rodney had it for a moment there and then had it taken away.
Fumbling, nothing new to Rodney. He was second in the league to Dave Craig in fumbles this season. That was Philadelphia's first turnover. Mikowski throws, and that catch is made by Aubrey Matthews. He's out of bounds at the 20-yard line with 4 minutes and 40 seconds left in the 3rd quarter.
And Rodney had 13 of them, and 10 of them came on sacks. Well, he's not at all happy.
No, sir. Not when you watch the 44-point lead get shaved to 37.
This is where you try and put it up there to Henry Moore. They follow their pattern.
1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. And that's caught at the 15-yard line. A little 5-yard catch over the middle made by Aubrey Matthews.
Intercepting move there by Mikowski. And they go into the hurry-up offense, the 2-minute drill, or whatever you want to call it.
Drop. Sloan couldn't hang on. The tight end. Make it 3rd down and 5.
Mikowski's last big year in 1989 with Green Bay, over 4,000 yards that year. And then, of course, he had the shoulder problems, the injury troubles. He had a good performance early in the year against the Chicago Bears for the Detroit Lions. Was instrumental in that win. And
3rd and 5. Looking for the first down, and he has it. Mikowski out of bounds at about the 7-yard line.
Maybe compounding Wayne's problems will now be a quarterback controversy. Mikowski moves the Lions once again.
I'm not sure that Mikowski's performance at this stage of the game is going to cause Scott Mitchell to be sent to the bench. And quite frankly, guys, as we all know, Wayne Fonts has bigger fish to fry than a quarterback controversy.
Yes, sir. And Mitchell will be making about $4 million next year. And first and goal, the catch is made by Johnny Morton. And the former USC Trojan scores and then has the ball shoved back at him.
And Morton's lucky that he didn't get flagged right there. He threw the ball at Barry Milburn, and that's taunting. That's
his first reception also of the night.
He's lucky he got away with that. That's it was kind of a casual flip, but no less it went right at Wilburn. That's a no-no in the NFL.
Hansen for the extra point. And that makes it 51-21 with 3 minutes and 19 seconds to play in the third quarter. Veterans Stadium, the last time a postseason game was held here would have been following the 1990 campaign. Buddy Ryan was the coach. Washington came in, and Ryan in that game started Randall Cunningham and put him on the bench in the second half.
And that was Buddy's last game, was it not? Here in Philadelphia?
Philadelphia could very well have been.
I believe it was.
On to,
I think,
out of the game for a year. They went to Houston.
I think that was the end of the Buddy Ryan era. Al's got the fingers working. Al's got the 1, 2,
86, 87, yeah, 5 years. You're right. Then Richie Kotite came in for 4.
He went for 4 years. Buddy went to the horse farm for a year and back to Houston and on to Arizona. Back to the horses.
That was Buddy's first last game.
That's right. Well, Buddy took under Richie Kotite at New Orleans.
The Eagles here got a lot of guys up front. They're expecting the possibility here of an onside kick. They'll get it.
Hansen sends a bouncing ball to the 12-yard line, and Rob Carpenter gets run out of bounds at the 22 with 3 minutes and 11 seconds remaining. And that wet turf coming into play on almost every kickoff today.
This is kicking is becoming hazardous to your health here.
Yeah, Hansen has taken
Veterans Stadium.
Some real dumps tonight.
Well, Anderson's gone down too.
Good advertisement for this new surface. The Flyers should play here. First down at the 22-yard line. Rodney Peete. Little 2-yard pass to Freddie Barnett. Second down. Still in the third quarter, the Eagles with 51 on the board against a team, the Detroit Lions, whose defense had gotten better in the latter stages of the season, and a team that had yielded only 34 points over their last 4 games total.
A little over 8-point average per game, and they have given up 51, and we still have a bunch of time to go.
Second down and 8.
There's a double clutch, I think, by Raleigh McKenzie, the center. He'll blame it on the wet turf. I'll guarantee you he'll blame it on the wet turf. That he didn't mean to have that ball move on him like that, but it just double clutched.
Prior to the snap, false start, illegal snap on the center, number 63. 5 yards, repeat second down.
You can make that out to be anything you want to. Watch the ball. Oop. He'll say that turf was so slick that ball just slipped. I put a little weight on it and it moved.
Sounds like you've done that.
You say whatever you have to say.
Second down and 13 from the 19-yard line. Rodney. Flag thrown at the end. Chris Spielman.
Well, they love Rodney tonight, don't they? He's taken a lot of abuse over the past week. Asking wide says goes with the
Personal
position.
foul, unnecessary roughness. 54 defense, 15 yards, first down.
That's particularly out of frustration on the part of Chris Spielman. He's such a competitor. Loves to win.
Randall Cunningham loosening up.
He actually, certainly not going to hurt him that way, but he.
Spielman had run 30 yards, and Pete goes to the ground, and Spielman is already leaving his feet when Pete hits the ground, and he basically goes over the top of it.
I think he made an effort.
Pretty weak.
He made an effort to miss him.
Yeah, I think it's bad enough they're getting beat this badly.
Ricky Waters for a gain of 6 to the 42-yard line. Spielman makes the tackle with 1 minute and 45 seconds remaining in the third quarter and 16 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the Lions season. The vet. Can another game be played here this year? Yes, but only if Atlanta were to get to the NFC Championship game.
As you're going to say, if Miami kept winning.
Miami kept winning, right. It's another way for a game to be played here. To the 39-yard line. Since the Eagles came into the playoffs seeded 4th and Detroit 5th, the only way you could play another home game would be for a lower seeded team to advance to that game. So it would have to be Atlanta. Otherwise, they're on the road. They're certainly on the road next week.
And again, as you mentioned earlier, we have to wait until tomorrow's games are played to find out who plays where.
WPVI, our local affiliate, Philadelphia, providing the helicopter and giving us the scenics of Veterans Stadium. No gain on the play here. It'll be 4th down. Ricky Waters, the ball carrier.
Oh, the crowd beseeching Ray Rhodes to go for it. Nursing this 30-point lead, you think he should take a chance?
Well, they don't have to run another play before the quarter ends, so they'll turn around and make their call on 4th down as the clock ticks down, and the third quarter is history. Philadelphia 51, Detroit 21, and back we come to Philadelphia after this word from our ABC stations.
I think he's going to go for it. That for him will really be up.
Quarter at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. The Eagles on top 51-21. 4th down and 1 for the Eagles at the Lion 39-yard line. 3 first-half interceptions turned into touchdowns have written an early finish to Detroit's playoff hopes. It was 38-7 at the half.
For Detroit, a nightmare on Broad Street. Seem to have the chains tangled up on the sidelines here.
They brought him from Detroit.
Look at this. What's going on here?
I've had pasta that was straighter than that.
Knit 1, pearl 2. Betsy Ross. That's when you really need Betsy Ross, right?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
It's Philadelphia. I don't know.
We have a whole quarter to go. Don't lose it now. Don't lose it now. I know it's hard. Keep it together.
Just warming up for the Pro Bowl.
Pass and Stowe, by the way, were the two gentlemen who recast the Liberty Bell. That's not what you're supposed to do after you throw it and put it away. They were, I believe, they recast it in 1750 something.
Tom Hutton to punt, and it is batted at the 1-yard line by Jerome Henderson, but into the end zone for a touchback. Third quarter stats as Don Mikowski comes in to guide the Lions. 408 total yards, and of course the turnovers, 5 for Detroit.
You remember way back in the first quarter we talked about turnovers and their impact in the playoff games.
Well, the big disparity there, 146 rushing yards for the Eagles to only 33 for Detroit.
From the 20-yard line, Mikowski. Another pick. That's William Thomas.
Number 8 for Thomas.
Touchdown.
Poorly thrown ball behind the receiver, batted into the air, and William Thomas played that like a running back. He didn't look like a linebacker looking for somebody to make a tackle. He looked like a running back trying to find the end zone, and he did.
Well, that's the second interception that he's run back for a touchdown already this year. And amazingly, for a linebacker who's really a very good blitzer, that's his 8th sack. I mean, not his 8th sack, his 8th interception.
He's got a few sacks too, Dan.
Yeah, but look at that. Just snags it one hand.
We'll see him in Honolulu, his first Pro Bowl.
Now we're working our way towards 60.
Well, we have 79 total points in the game, equaling the most total points ever in an NFL postseason game. 58-21.
It's not over yet.
Mitchell and Moore and the Lions have watched themselves go down by 37, 58-21, with a lot of time left in the game, 14-33. Ron Rivers up to the 45-yard line. And I only mentioned a lot of time left in the game because of the shattering of the record book. You would think, as you take a look at the most points ever in a postseason game. Those San Diego, Miami, and Buffalo, Houston games were both overtime games. So we have here the most points ever scored in regulation.
And they were competitive ball games, too.
Yeah.
Boy, this crowd's loving it, though. It's like a soccer crowd. Newfound love affair with the Eagles here in Philadelphia.
At least we don't need a moat from the 45-yard line. Barry Sanders picks up 9 to the 46. Mark Woodard makes the tackle. For the second year in a row, Barry Sanders has pretty much disappeared in the postseason game for Detroit.
Although the Lions have fallen so far behind so early, they've really had little opportunity to run him. They're running him now just to keep from throwing. This is not to win the ball game. This is just that their attempts at passing the football have been so pathetic. They're just trying to run Barry to keep from embarrassing themselves and run the clock and get out of Dodge.
That's fine with us. We're getting on to New Year's. Boy, what a nightmare for the Detroit Lions.
First down to the 40-yard line. Magic Man flings one out of bounds.
Well out of bounds.
We have golf for you. The Anderson Consulting World Championship of Golf comes your way tomorrow, 2 Eastern Time at 11 a.m. Pacific, right here on ABC. $1 million going to the winner of that tournament. Second down and 10 at the 40-yard line. What else is new? Zordich. Tackled by Lomas Brown.
You know, maybe he'll pull Mikowski and put Mitchell back in.
Or suit Greg Landry up. 7th turnover. Well, here was the scene. Randall Cunningham came into the game and was acknowledged by the partisans here in Philadelphia. You think he's carrying his beeper with him?
Well, and they gave him a tremendous hand because this is probably his last appearance at the Vet as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. He most certainly won't be back next year.
He gives the ball to Derek Witherspoon. So Randall in a relief role in relief of Rodney Sweet Pete.
The crowd's booing. They want Randall to air it out. They want him to either put it in the air or take off with it.
Yeah, it was a big move by Ray Rhodes. After the 4th game of the season with the Eagles down 1-3, benching Randall Cunningham, that was a very risky thing that he did. putting Rodney Peete in. Rodney Peete went 9-3 and got him into the playoffs. But this man has taken a lot of risk in his first year as a head coach. 2nd down and 8. Witherspoon. He works his way to the outside, and the return specialist is a yard short of the first down, taken down by Benny Blades.
Well, Ricky gets to sit down, and deservedly so. We hate to make this sound like the Ray Rhodes show, but it's hard to overestimate what he has done with this football team and the coaching job that he's achieved so far here in '95. And he'll be the first to tell you, I don't want to hear about it. There's a long way to go. But this guy has made a mark in such a short period of time, and anybody who's around him or talks to him or has seen what he's done, you know he's here to stay. This is no flash in the pan.
3rd down and 1.
Yes, sir. Randall. Rockin' Randall Hank.
Oh, and then Clay comes in and knocks him down. Yeah. And a major brawl ensues.
Well, that was a huge cheap shot by the Lions.
What was that about? Randall with a little push, and
boy, but you know,
overzealousness at the end, and then Willie Clay came in and tackled him.
Boy, you just don't take a shot at a guy running like that.
Randall gave Willie Clay a little shove, but I think that would hardly justify what Clay did.
Well, Randall didn't like the fact that he got tackled by the head. But Willie Clay coming in, you'd have to assume that Willie Clay is going to be taking a leave here. Now, here's Mike Johnson is the linebacker who comes in and kind of grabs Randall by the head, but Randall just,
oh, come on.
That's no big deal. Not to warrant that.
Personal foul. Late hit. 32 defense. He's disqualified.
No surprise.
Well, again, part of it frustration, and of course, part of it you have got to have control of what you're doing. And Ray Rhodes, like I told you, he was ready for a rumble himself.
Well, now
Ray wants Clay thrown in jail. Just a minor shove on the part of Randall as he pushes Mike Johnson when he gets up. And watch this. Here comes Clay and Benny Blades.
Yeah, Randall's follow-through was a lot more than the push itself. You could see that Johnson barely flinched, and Clay's on his way to the Lions locker room.
I'd hurry if I was him.
To a Philadelphia shower.
First down at the 19-yard line. Witherspoon. Crowd chanting spoon over the 11-yard line. Another
Witherspoon. Witherspoon?
Yeah, that's what they're chanting. Witherspoon.
Well, you said Wither Wayne a while ago. I thought is his name Spoon, and you were going Witherspoon.
And there's still 11:09 to go.
Wither the Lions defense as the Eagles barking up the 60s tree here.
The Lions defense has withered. 2nd down and 2. And
what are the
Corshey was there.
Oh, this might not have got off in time. We may have a delay.
They're saying Randall was in the grass.
Delay a game offense.
No. Delay. Yeah, there's a flag back in the end zone. When the field judge tosses it out, that's pretty much what it has to be when he throws it out before the snap.
This represents probably the lack of work with the starting unit Randall has. A little hesitant. They've had close calls on the clock already, and that time they got him. Most points by one team in a postseason game, that famous Bear-Washington game in '40, where Chicago won 73-0. Detroit against Cleveland in '57, and Philly against the Lions today. So this one will probably wind up number 2.
That same year, '57, was the last year the Lions won a road playoff game too, was it not?
At San Francisco, in that game in which they
erase that 20-point deficit.
So that record remains intact.
Speaking of the 57 NFL championship, Frank.
The Detroit Lions. Bobby Lane was the quarterback, but he was hurt, and this is Tobin Rote, a familiar name. And Tobin Rote rolling out to give the Lions a 24-7 lead, hitting Steve Junker, number 88. They went on to win 59-14 in their 4th NFL championship. The team was really dominant with Bobby Lane and Cloyce Box through the 50s, winning 3 NFL championships. Boy, it's been a long time since then.
Derek Witherspoon heading towards the Eagles sideline as he was shaken up after that last play. Amazing. 10 minutes and 2 seconds remain in this rout. Beautiful look at the vet. And Herman reflective, and unfortunately it's
a lot of the glow off a great year, doesn't it?
Oh, sure does. What a terrible way to enter the offseason.
3rd down and 5 now from the 14-yard line. 9:45 to go. And Charlie Garner gets taken down after a short gain for Spielman. Takes him to the turf. It'll be 4th down. And the coverage of today's game is being brought to you by Ford Windstar. The future of minivans begins today. Circuit City. Pepsid AC acid controller. You can be heartburn free with new Pepsid AC. And Budweiser, official sponsor of the 1996 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. Wayne Fonts will need a lot of Pepsid AC after this one. 58-21. Gary Anderson now will try to make it 61-21 with a 32-yard field goal. And he'll try to make it 17 straight field goals in postseason play, but there's no play here. Whistle before the snap.
If this is something that goes against Detroit.
Prior to the snap, timeout was called by Detroit. That's their first charge timeout.
They're trying to put the pressure, I presume, on Gary Anderson.
I think they might have had, well, I don't know, but they might have had too many men on the field.
I think they knew that we needed a commercial break.
We need more than that.
Thank you, Lions.
Couple of barnyard favorites there.
Yes, sir. 32-yard field goal attempt here for Gary Anderson. And that one is good. Flag is down, however. One more flag, and it's holding against Philadelphia.
Boy, now he's got to go for 3 in a row.
Yeah. And this one from 10 yards further back.
Holding 57 of the kicking team. 10 yards, repeat 4th down.
Well, we know his leg is warm anyway.
It's Mark Woodard, reserve linebacker for the Birds. So Gary Anderson has to do it again. Kicked one, it was good, but time had expired. Kicked another one. There's a timeout. Now a holding penalty, rather. Now we have to see if he can do the trifecta.
41 yards.
Looks awfully good. No.
Nope. Off to the right.
Whoa, Gary, too bad. That's a tough way for his streak to come to an end. Yeah, that's a shame.
He was planning on a little hook, as you ordinarily would get, and he got a straightaway and just outside the crossbar. Might have even grazed it a little, didn't it?
Work.
Body English.
No.
Oh, no.
Well, that's one of the very few things that have gone wrong for the Philadelphia Eagles tonight.
Philly leading 58-21. Ron Rivers is in the backfield. McCoskey to throw. That's tipped and incomplete all day long. The pressure's been put on. The secondary has done its job. The Eagle defense has created 7 turnovers. 2nd and 10. What a weird business. Wayne Fonts under so much pressure early. Then he went 7 straight, and he's the darling of Motown, and now he'll come home with his team having been annihilated. Ray Rhodes, his team given very little chance this year to do much, and they're going to either Dallas or San Francisco next. Catch made by David Sloan.
They will, wherever they go, will have the attention of either the 49ers or the Dallas Cowboys, because they are a for real team. They are a team. They really not a team of stars. They just play well together, and it was a team that was molded by this man. He brought in, again, the most unlikely people to put together. Failures other places, who just excelled here.
3rd down 3, flags. And the catch is made by Ron Rivers, who takes the ball into Philadelphia territory and is finally ridden down inside the Eagle 40-yard line.
Well, multiple Eagles across the line of scrimmage,
but no
Offside,
whistle.
93 defense. Penalties decline. 1st down.
We began today by telling you about the travails of dome teams playing playoff games on the road outside, and this will make it 12 straight losses for those teams. There's another dome team going outside tomorrow, the Atlanta Falcons at Green Bay.
That is really outside.
And yet another, Indianapolis going to San Diego. Rivers.
although the trip to San Diego will seem the most dome-like.
Yes, it will. It will.
If you've got to play outside your dome, San Diego is a pretty good place to do it.
This wasn't a bad day here in Philadelphia after a pretty cold week. Sort of Maui-like late this afternoon here.
Beach weather here in Philadelphia for December 30th.
Maui, Saskatchewan.
Down on the field before the game, the Eagles were lamenting the fact that the weather wasn't worse. They would have preferred a blizzard, blowing winds, anything to derail the Detroit offense. They weren't so sure they were going to do it themselves, but they did.
And that catch is made by Aubrey Matthews, who gets taken down at about the 5 by Jerome Henderson. So one more point, and it will be the highest scoring postseason game in NFL history. Motor City Miscues. I like that alliteration. 7 different Eagles have created the turnovers.
At least they spread it around.
Mikowski on 1st and goal. And he's to the 3-yard line. 2nd and goal with 6 minutes to go. Mike Mamula in on the stop.
I guess it all started poorly for the Lions this week when Lomas Brown gave an interview and guaranteed victory for the Lions. As a matter of fact, I think he said it was going to be over by the end of the 1st quarter. Lomas wished that he could have taken those words back.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be at the center of a firestorm, and he was.
Oh, yeah. He just had the wrong team.
Yeah, he was prophetic enough, all right.
Boy, Sloan makes the catch, and that's a touchdown.
That's Sloan's 2nd touchdown, is it not? Didn't he?
Yep.
He scored one early on in this ball game.
When it was 7-7 about 4 days ago.
Yep.
So a record has been set, most total points in a postseason game. 58-27 with the extra point to come.
And I'm sure if you would have asked the Lions beforehand or told them beforehand that you were going to score 27 and maybe 29 here if this is successful, I think they all would have been a little surprised to find out they were going to lose the ball game.
2-point attempt. And it's successful as Ron Rivers takes the ball in to make it 58-29.
A long ride home.
Last time the Eagles won a title, Frank, back in 1960.
Actually against the Green Bay Packers in the only postseason game that Vince Lombardi would ever lose. He lost it right here in Philadelphia. Ted Dean running back for the Eagles, scoring from 5 yards out. The Eagles going on to win 17-13 in a tremendous upset. Chuck Bednarik going both ways in that game as an offensive linebacker and an offensive center.
Some of those guys wearing that newfangled device at the time, a face mask.
A lot of them wouldn't wear it. A lot of them have funny faces today.
Yeah. Including that guy right there. This crowd, by and large, is sticking around to send their Eagles to the locker room with a show of appreciation. They had reason to leave a long time ago if staying warm was the reason to leave, but there's still a good percentage of this crowd still here at Veterans Stadium, and I can only assume justifiably proud of their Eagles.
Eagles have been to the Super Bowl once in the 1980 season. Dick Vermeil led them to New Orleans where they lost to the Oakland Raiders.
Has to go 10. Remember, it has to cross the 40 here.
Yep. A little high hopper. And nope. Philadelphia winds up with the football.
Saw that earlier in the day with a successful attempt on the part of Miami. It's a play they work on and drill on. Ideally, the kick takes a couple of bounces, then takes the high bounce, and you have somebody deflected into his teammate's arms.
Well, it really worked out pretty well for the Lions. They got the ball into the hands of the guy they wanted. Herman Moore was the guy right along the sideline, and he had his hands on it, but a collision with an Eagles player knocked it loose.
Earlier today, Buffalo a winner, 34-22. They go to Pittsburgh next week.
The kick was last touched by the kicking team prior to going out of bounds, which is a kickoff out of bounds. On an onside kick attempt, it's a 5-yard penalty and a re-kick.
We'll see a redo.
I've always thought that was a rule that didn't make a lot of sense to me.
It doesn't.
If you tried the onside kick and you weren't successful in executing it, why do you get another shot? It just doesn't seem to you know, you're the one that's taking the chance. You're the one that's attempting to get the ball back. If you weren't able to execute it properly, why are you rewarded with another opportunity?
You're rewarded, and then if you do it again here, you're disrewarded, though, because you can only do it one time. So it really doesn't make sense. Disrewarded?
I'm certainly not going to call you out on it.
Here's the kick, redo or redux. Take your pick.
Is that like part two?
That's it. Absolutely. Which is like fondue. Like fondue, sure. A little high hopper.
Got to go 10 yards.
Yeah,
I don't think it did.
9 yards.
They dropped a flag. I don't think it did go 10.
I think Herman came up with the ball at the 9-yard mark.
They marked it right there.
Yeah, anything less than 10. Remember, less in this case is not more. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly knew what
Very close.
The only guy.
The flag would indicate that they ruled that he didn't. That's the hop you want from the kicker.
Touched by the kicking team before it went 10 yards.
Boy, that was really close.
Ball will belong to Philadelphia. First down.
Five minutes and 24 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. 87 points in the game, most ever for a postseason game in the history of the National Football League. Again, most ever by one team. 73 by the Bears in that rout of Washington in 1940. Randall Cunningham. Dan, you mentioned as James Saxon carries that it might be Randall's last game as an Eagle. Had Buddy Ryan not been fired in Arizona, I would have thought a decent chance would have existed for Randall to be there next year. But now, who knows?
Well, let's be realistic. I think so much of this and what becomes of Randall depends on Randall and what he's willing to play for economically, and how willing is he going to be to fit into a team system. Now, he has been a team player here in Philadelphia. You know, this is a prideful man who's had to take a seat on the bench, but he's making a lot of money, and no one's going to pay him that kind of money to be a backup. Just saying. But having said all that, as we were talking about at dinner last night, there aren't too many quality quarterbacks in the NFL. How's that for a diplomatic way of saying there are a bunch of guys starting at quarterback in this league who could be replaced easily?
Randall's problem is fitting into the offense, which is really the 49er offense, the West Coast offense, whatever you want to call it. And he struggled with it, and finally it was Ray Rhodes who bit the bullet and put him down. And there's so many teams using that offense, he will probably have to make some kind of adjustment wherever he goes.
After Saxon gains 7 to make it 3rd and 3, it's Saxon again, short of the first down by a yard or so.
But then in reality, Frank, the Eagles jettison that offense as well and go to primarily a running attack. You know, they give up on the short passing game and go to Ricky Waters. And Rodney Peete is being asked to do, I guess Ray Rhodes, if he had to supply a definition for Rodney Peete, is, Rodney, we don't want you to lose the football game. We want you to play very conservatively. Don't put our defense in trouble. Don't take chances.
4th and 1 at the 26. And it is Saxon. And he's only to the 25-yard line. Appears to be a little short. With 3 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter, they do not have the first down, so Detroit has the football. These two teams meeting today for the first time since 1986. It's the first time they've ever met in a playoff game. Haven't faced each other for 9 years, and ironically, Detroit gets to come back to Philadelphia next season during the regular season.
Sure, they'll be thrilled at that prospect.
Yes.
Lomas Brown right there, and another Pro Bowl year for the great tackle. Kevin Glover at center, a Pro Bowler. Herman Moore, Barry Sanders, four starters on this offensive unit headed to Honolulu, but thwarted today.
On the 25-yard line, Herman Moore gets to pad his stats a little bit up to the 33. Whitmore makes the tackle.
Actually had more offensive players on the mobile squad than neither the 49ers or the Cowboys, right?
But stop and think about it. Realistically, they could have had a couple more. Scott Mitchell had the numbers to go, and so did Brett Perriman.
Right. When you catch 108 passes that don't go to the Pro Bowl, you know you're in a pretty tough league. But the NFC had 9 receivers with 100 yards or more, 100 receptions or more.
Sloan makes the catch on 2nd and 2 up to the 41-yard line with 2.5 minutes remaining in the game.
One is a game change. The AFC had 1 receiver. No, not a receiver with 100, but 1 with 99.
This was such an offensive year in the NFC that you could field a pretty good Pro Bowl team out of the people who didn't get an opportunity to go to Hawaii.
Rivers up to the 47-yard line. And Ray Rhodes will have his team preparing for another playoff game this week, either at Dallas or at San Francisco.
Ron Rivers looks like a slow motion Barry Sanders, doesn't he? Same size, same dimension. I don't mean to demean him, but there's only one Barry Sanders.
2-minute warning. Green Bay beats Atlanta tomorrow. They would go to San Francisco if Atlanta beats Green Bay, and Atlanta would go to Dallas. 2nd and 5. Aubrey Matthews makes the catch, and that's a first down. Taken down by David Whitmore.
Marker comes flying in there late.
Face mask grab. Ron Blum, who is a golf pro the rest of the week, the referee tonight.
Don't lose his number, Al.
You better believe it.
yard face mask, 42 defense, 15 yards, first down.
I asked Ron before the game, I said, is it a good swing thought to think don't whiff? So I've got to work with you, boy.
You started too late, Al.
Yes.
Next game, you start when you're young.
Next life.
Guarantee you one thing. I bet you Ron Blum could recite the rules of golf.
Oh, yeah.
You're a rules-oriented person if you're a referee in the NFL.
Mikowski throws, and that is dropped by Johnny Morton.
Mikowski worked long and hard to get that ball in there, and Morton couldn't hold it.
.148 left.
It'll be a long time until anybody on this Detroit Lions football team forgets what happened here today.
Would you believe a lifetime?
2nd and 10. Mikowski throws, and Aubrey Matthews makes the catch for a first down.
Well, thrown ball by Mikowski. Again, you hark back to that year '89, tremendous season with the Green Bay Packers, and before he injured his shoulder the following year, over 4,000 yards. He was the darling of Green Bay.
13-yard line. Mikowski taken down at the 11. You know, another thing, not that the Lions are going to spend a lot of time thinking about it, but if Yancey Thigpen makes that catch last week in Green Bay, Detroit is home today facing Atlanta
In the dome.
Yep. If.
They're division champs. The coaches get different bonuses because they're division champions. A lot of things are different.
Rivers, and he is stopped just short of the goal line.
But then again, a lot of unhappy people in Green Bay as well. So
Sure.
it's what is what is, and what happened here today is, and that first half was nothing short of unbelievable what happened to the Lions, and really culminated in one of the worst plays I've seen in a long time. Their defense of that Hail Mary on the last play of the first half.
Ooh. It's tipped and incomplete. 12 seconds left in the game. David Whitmore got a hand on it.
You go back to that play, Dan, and you think again, you go right back to Ray Rhodes, who was the one who called that timeout to give them the opportunity to go for the Hail Mary. He's on top of the game. Once again, when they were looking around and several people had turned this job down, they looked for somebody with his kind of a record. He was successful in anything and everything he had ever done.
Well, you just don't ever pass up an opportunity to score.
And Rivers takes it in for the touchdown. And that's 93 points in the game, 58-35.
They're going to go for two.
Why not?
It's not often that you score this many points and we're never even in it.
Yeah. Yep. Blown out.
Think about it.
And they pick up two as the catch is made by Herman Moore. You're right, Dan. Years from now, people will look at the book and they'll say, boy, that must have been a wild game. 58-37.
Or to think that you could score 37 points. Yeah. You see that, but it's 41-38 or something, or something along the lines of the Thanksgiving Day game that they had with the Vikings. Something wild like that. But to ring the bell 37 times and to be never even sniffing victory is hard to imagine. All you have to do is look at the Lions score. 7 points apiece in the first quarter. No points in the second quarter for the Lions. 31 for the Eagles.
Well, at one point it was 51-7.
Well, they appear as if they are not going to line up in the onside kick mode, so I guess they've decided it's too late to pull this one out. Ten seconds remaining. Jeffrey Lurie being escorted down to the field. The owner of the team bought it prior to the 1994 season. Jeffrey came very close to buying the New England Patriots a couple of years ago, but couldn't wrap up the deal and winds up buying the Eagles from Norman Brayman. And this would be the ultimate moment right now in his young ownership, as his team finishes the regular year with a mark of 10-6 and thoroughly annihilates the Detroit Lions in this NFC wild card game.